Let's get started. First of all, thank you all very much. This is just an incredible turnout. We started planning this event just 10 days ago, and now we got over 2,500 people from around the world tuning in. I feel truly blessed to have been working in such a great industry for well over 20 years now, because the SEO and digital marketing industry is truly special. When I grew up to be a SEO Padawan under the legendary Suchknecht, the search servant from Austria, I was so thankful for how open most people were about sharing their knowledge and sharing their experiences. We, as a whole industry, warmly welcome each new connoisseur of this exciting profession. And the level of sharing is just enormous and has always been this way. I guess this comes from the fact we all somehow stumbled into this industry. 7-year-olds grow up wanting to be doctors, astronauts, movie stars, but not SEOs. So we're coming from all kinds of different backgrounds. We all had different dreams at some point, but somehow ended up in this exciting profession, in this great industry. And this wild mix has turned into something really special. Long story short, I feel blessed you're all here with us today because we are better together. So let me hand over to my valued co-host and normally my table neighbor, the amazing Izzy Smith.
Oh, yeah, I miss you being my table neighbor. Yeah, I just need to share my screen for you all now. Let me do that. Yes, share my screen. Okay, can you all see my screen? I have some slides to present to you straight away. I can see all of your questions here. Great to see you too, Monica. Thank you for joining. Yes, can you? Yeah. All right, let's do it. So yeah, thank you so much everyone for joining us today for this 2 to 3 hour session. I'm sure we're going to run over time a little bit, but that's okay. So just to introduce myself and Marcus. So at Ryte, I'm the technical SEO analyst, part of the customer success team, working together with our amazing crew over there, as well as Marcus, our chief evangelist and MD and one of the co-founders. My favorite thing to do during the quarantine is not that productive. So I've been eating a lot of snacks and playing a lot of games, whereas Marcus has been doing more wholesome things such as building Lego with his kids, which is lovely. We have an amazing lineup for you all today. Some incredible diverse topics all around how we can help you and your businesses through this crisis. And we're better together. That's the whole point of all of this. So yeah. Just some general housekeeping things for you. Also, some rules moving forward. All of the talks are 20 minutes in total, so comprised of 15 minutes plus a 5-minute Q&A session. There are no breaks, so if you want to run to the toilet or get snacks, you can do so in between. But try and hoard all your things around you so you can attend everything. Please send your questions and your thoughts and your love, which we always appreciate. You can do so. I can see all of them on my second screen. Will there be memes? There might be memes. Let's see. Yes, so you can do that through the software and the right-hand side panel. Will the talks be recorded? Good question. I'm hearing this a lot. The answer is yes, they will be recorded and they're going to be sent to you as soon as possible. So no worries about missing anything there. Of course, I have to use a Martin GIF. And we have the talks from 4 till 6, but at 6 we're going to stick around with some of the speakers and have some banter and questions. I'm going to get a beer or 2 or 7. You're welcome to join me to have an appropriate drink for where you're based in the world, or even if it's inappropriate. I'm not one to judge. But yeah. That's the basic housekeeping rules. And now I just want to go through very quickly some things what we've been up to at Ryte. Obviously, we've been missing each other, so we have an amazing team. As you can see, a lot of beautiful faces. This was a couple of weeks just before the quarantine or the lockdown was first stated in Munich, where we had our carnival party. As you can see, we're very fond of bananas, and yeah, I'm missing everyone dearly. But also, yeah, we've been up to a lot of stuff, such as webinars every week with our clients and with our customers to help them with any sort of specific damage that they've been going through during the crisis, and to help them keep growing. So with any questions they have. Also, there's been ongoing research with our data science team to keep finding and digging deeper into analysis in search and behavior trends so that they can use this data to help our customers keep growing and learning from that even more. And even during all of this work from home for 1 month, we keep releasing new features and updates and loads more that I wish I could share with you today, but I can't, maybe at another time. But basically, I'm very proud of everything that we're achieving here. I know ALEYDA is going to go into a lot of detail later about best practices for working from home and remaining efficient as an SEO consultant these days, so can't wait for that. I was just checking all of the questions. Andreas would appreciate an Augustina right now. That's a fabulous beer from Munich. Me too, but let's wait. Okay, so something that I quickly want to talk to you about, because speaking of all this data analysis that our data science team have been doing, we've recently launched our anomaly detection report in Search Success because we pull in as much data as possible from GSC. And then we use this to create approaches to calculate the confidence interval, the gray area in the background, which is based on your historical data and this network effect of having all these connected accounts to see where your performance should lie within. And as soon as you go above or below that expected amount, we then trigger an anomaly, positive or negative for each KPI there. And what we do then is break it down to see the most impacted segments and areas of your website. So this really speeds up analysis and finds what is going on with your traffic. For example, in this case, a huge positive anomaly for a German supermarket chain that had a big increase in unexpected clicks and impressions for keywords around toilet paper, flour, and disinfection. So all those highly in demand products at the moment. A negative anomaly example here was from a sports betting domain who completely lost traffic. Obviously, there's no sports to bet on at the moment unless you're into esports, like watching StarCraft and stuff. I know some people have been resorting to that. So this was insane, this drop here. And then there was a mixture for travel industry domains. So a big positive anomaly there for an increase in topics and keywords around customer service needs, so cancellations, contact, and so on, and then followed by a negative anomaly ongoing because of the reduced demand at the moment. So yeah, these are just some exciting examples. If you have any at home you want to share with us, we'd love to take a look. Maybe we can like delve into what's going on there together. But just some quick insights from what the Ryte Data Science team has uncovered, just to show you the methodology. Can't speak anymore. They took into account around 4,800 connected accounts that were significant enough, and then categorized them into the main industries using Google Ads CPC data, taking mid-February to the end of March. So this is one of my favorite GIFs, by the way, to use for presentations when you have to show a lot of graphs. So yeah, I'm going to show you a lot of graphs. Yeah, first of all, it's, oh, don't know what happened there. We see a huge case where search device usage is shifting because, of course, people are working from home. They're not on the go anymore. They're not commuting, so using their mobile devices. So we see desktop usage is increasing for search, so most impressions coming from desktop while mobile is decreasing. The best cases I could find for you were from Italy and France here. Obviously, the biggest dropping industry was travel and tourism. They had this short-lived peak that I explained to you previously in the anomaly detection chart, and now it's dropping even more. And two big industries that are really unfortunately going down at the moment in terms of impressions are vehicles and real estate, because of course these big investments they're hard to make and wise to make during times of financial uncertainty. So yeah, those ones are not doing so well at the moment, unfortunately. But on the other side, one of the biggest winners was news media and publications. People need their information right now. They need updates on what is going on. So it's only expected that we see this increase. Of course, it's dropping a little bit now, but I expect that it's going to stay higher than it was before the crisis. But interesting, so this is a screenshot I took from the Search Success dashboard on the overview, because it was great to compare how many unique keywords this news domain was ranking for over time. So since the start of the corona crisis, their amount of keywords was going down, which could be seen as a negative thing because, okay, maybe they're not targeting as many topics, maybe their rankings are declining and so on. But actually it's just because the they saw a lack of diverse topic interest. More people are searching for coronavirus related queries rather than other things at the moment. But the clicks are increasing, so for this domain, it seems to be okay for now. Another increasing industry was computers and electronics. People need their hardware. They need laptops, screens. They also might need PlayStations and Nintendo Switches to deal with all that free time in the evening. And of course, hobbies and leisure. People need welcome escapes. They need inspiration of entertainment, new hobbies to pick up at the moment. So maybe you can use this as inspiration for your product development and for your content creation at the moment.
And this is clearly just people not having kids, because which I mean,
Yes.
you have kids, and nobody just saying.
But you're building a lot of Lego with your kids, I hear, which is great. I've also been building Lego. I don't have kids, but I do consider myself one. So yeah, that's fine.
I'm building Lego also without kids, but now I can like officially do it, and it's cool, you know.
Oh, amazing. Yes, so if you have any more questions for us at Ryte, we're going to be here, of course, but you can always chat to us. You can find us at hello@ryte.com or via social media, wherever you can. Okay, but let's get right to it. I'm already a little bit over time for our first speaker. So now I need to stop sharing my screen. I think now you can't see my screen anymore. I don't think that's fine. Okay, oh, there he is, a wonderful Martin Splitt. So Martin is a developer advocate at the search team at Google, meaning I think what he basically does in a nutshell, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is help web developers figure out why and how to include SEO principles in their processes, and then ultimately help SEOs grasp technical fundamentals.
Yes.
I think, yes, perfect. His job is incredibly crucial, and since he started at Google around 2 years ago, I've already witnessed him make huge strides in releasing better documentation and better resources for all of us to understand and use in our work. And not only that, but he's one of the loveliest people I've ever met. We get to hang out quite a lot at conferences, and whenever I'm nervous before I talk, he's always there to keep me smiling and give me the pep talk that I need. So I'm very appreciative. And actually, I still have a very fond memory of last year when Martin was doing magic tricks for us all in the hotel bar at around 1 in the morning. I'm very happy that he's here today. Please give it up for the wonderful Martin Splitt.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Izzy. And thanks a lot for being for having me here and running this amazing event. I'm really appreciating to be one of the people that get their chance to actually talk a little bit about what we're doing and how we're doing things. And in that spirit, I thought once I gave that talk title to Izzy and I said like JavaScript for SEO, so get a tour. I'm like, first things first, I only have 20 minutes, which is now effectively 15 minutes. I've done this so many times. There's so many talks out there that have been recorded where you can listen to me giving you the basics. We have documentation for this. We have a JavaScript SEO video series. So why would I do this again? So I thought I switch things up a little bit. And actually, where's my mouse cursor? Here we go. And actually talk about something slightly different. When I say talk about, I'm actually not going to do like a classical talk. Instead, we're just going to debug a few example sites that are based on actual sites that I had to deal with when people are like, oh, we think JavaScript is not working in Googlebot. And I'm like, is that okay? Let's see if this is a problem on our end or on their end. I like to debug things every now and then, especially if it comes through the public channels. So we do look into the Webmaster Forum. I do hang out in the office hours every now and then. We also now have JavaScript SEO office hours. And I do like to take a look at certain things and see if that's something that we need to document better, or if that's something that doesn't work well with Googlebot, or if it's just something that unfortunately the person has to figure out how to fix based on the public documentation. So I can't really help individual websites, but I'm doing my best to help us, or actually to help you all through our public channels and through our documentation. So everything that gets reported is quite a bit of interest to us. In terms of figuring out what's going on. So let's look at a few cases. And I thought this format is amazing because I can do things that are not so easy on actual conferences, because on actual conferences, I have to deal with a huge external screen. I have to deal with an audience being in front of me. I sometimes can't like sit down and actually type on a keyboard. Maybe I even have to present from something different, like from a different computer, or only have a clicker. My computer is somewhere completely different. Here, I actually have my environment and my tools. So let's look at a few actual samples of things going wrong. So this was one of the first things that came to my attention. I was browsing the mailing list for JavaScript sites. It's called the JavaScript Sites Working Group mailing list. It's a public mailing list where people discuss SEO problems with JavaScript sites. And there was someone saying, we have just created and it doesn't really matter which framework it was, like we have a starter sample and we build our website from that example. And the template that we use, the example that we used, is considered to use best practices, and it's really fast and it does everything it needs to do. But Google only indexes our homepage. Does that mean that there's a problem with our JavaScript? And I said, it's an interesting case. Let's have a look at it. So now I will take you into the browser, and I think I have it running on this port. Let's see. Yeah, here we go. So we have a shop in this case, and it's based on some template in this case as well. So we have a few different like cheeses, and we have a bunch of different categories, and we can go to French, and then we see French cheeses. We can go to world cheeses, and we see a selection of cheeses from around the world. Now, when they say the homepage is the only thing that gets indexed, I'm assuming that this is what gets indexed. And the first thing that I was wondering was, are they linking things correctly? So I checked if the link looks like what I would expect it to look like. And I hope that this is readable enough. If not, I can make it larger. Let me pull this up a little bit and then also make the size a little bigger. Actually, maybe like this. Let me know if you cannot read what's on my screen. If you cannot read what's on my screen, I'll deal with that accordingly. Come on, come with me. Now, the first thing that I wanted to check, as I said, was if the HTML looks like what I would expect it to look like. And actually, we can disable this for a second. So I say inspect this element. It jumps to the element. There's an anchor. That's good. It goes to the home page. Fair. That's an href that we can deal with. That's the next one. /French. No, this is fine. So we should have discovered this. So I was wondering, maybe there's something weird going on, like they're not returning a proper HTTP code or something like that. Let's check on the network. We can load this again, and we can have a look at the network information. Actually, can I have the actual network graph? No. Okay, hold on. Give me a moment. It's fun, isn't it? No, that looks good. There's a 200. Okay, this should be fine. French, 500. Okay, so everything seems to be fine. So what happens if I take this URL and throw this into one of our testing tools? Like, for instance, oh, actually, no, I should not use that one because that's not helping. Gcode mobile friendly, because that only works if I have access to the domain. I don't have access to the specific domain. Actually, this is localhost, so I won't have access to that one either. But I have a thing running that allows me to get a publicly reachable URL for this. So if I am going to this public URL here, I should be seeing the same website. Yes, I am seeing the same website, and it does work as it used to beforehand. Okay, cool. So let's throw this in /French, and let's see what we are getting. Right, I'm apparently not logged in, or I have been using this too much today. Does that count as a chimney? Probably. Yeah, that was correct. I'm not a robot. Whoa. Wait. That's weird. So the page is unavailable or blocked by robots.txt. Is there a robots.txt here? Let's try that out. Robots.txt. No, there's no robots.txt, so I'm not sure what's the problem here. We could check if this returns like a 500, and that's why we think that everything is blocked. That was my next hypothesis. So I'm basically making a theory and then trying to verify if that theory is correct or not. So let's have a look. Robots.txt actually returns 200. Is not really robots.txt. Okay, so that's a soft 404 kind of situation, but that shouldn't be affecting this. So what is happening? And I was quite confused about this for quite a while until I noticed something interesting. If I look at this more carefully and more closely, I see 200 OK from service worker. And at first I thought, but that can't be it. That, like, okay, sure, they use a service worker. That's a good practice. It makes things faster. And it also means that we can use this website when we're offline. If I go offline and I, nah, come on. And I reload this, then I still see the content. So this web shop even works offline. That's great. So, and also, we are not really using service workers in Google search. So how can this be a problem? Well, I came up with a last resort thing that I wanted to test. And so I opened an incognito tab and I went to this URL, and actually this is what I got. Interesting, isn't it? So what's happening here? If we are looking at this more closely, we can see that the network response that we get without a service worker, and the incognito tab means that we don't have a service worker installed, is actually a 404. So this is what anyone who has not been to the website beforehand is seeing. Only once the service worker is installed, you're actually seeing a 200 response. And that's because they used the service worker to fix a problem with their server configuration. The server is actually not set up to serve the application. It's a single page application. It's not served under anything but the home page. To fix this problem of the URLs not being served by the web server, they have used the service worker to actually work around this. We can have a look at how they are doing it by looking at the cache that the service worker creates. There's a bunch of caches in here that are filled with pretty much all the different assets for offline usage. But then if we look at the service worker as well, and I hope that I can actually see the service worker. It doesn't want to show me the service worker. No, maybe, yes, here we go. Then we see that this is a little involved and you don't have to understand everything that goes on here. But the interesting thing is that they have what's called a navigation route. So they are sending index HTML on whatever URL you're navigating to. And then the service worker actually responds instead of the network. So the server doesn't even see this request. There would not be a 404 request on your server, even if I open the URL like this straight away. So I don't have to click from one link to the other. I can also open a new window and do the same thing. The service worker is installed and takes care of this. But the problem is Googlebot has to behave like a first-time user who has never been to your website. So when we are getting to this URL, we actually do not use a service worker. We ask the server directly, like any browser would that would be used when you click on the link in the server in the SERP and do not have the service worker installed from a previous visit. You would see a 404. I called this sneaky 404s. So this is a case where it wasn't exactly the JavaScript. I mean, the JavaScript and the service worker have contributed to this issue going unnoticed. But fundamentally, it was a clever developer being like, oh, our server does not support single page application hosting. So we can work around this by using a service worker instead. But service workers only help on repeat visits. They are only installed on the first visit. So when I have my first visit to any of the URLs that are not the home page, I'm actually seeing a 404 and an error page rather than the page that people would expect. Interesting. This took me longer than I would admit to. But this is one of the cases where it's always good to not just blame JavaScript right away. And I was misdirected by the initial question because they were like, yeah, there's this framework involved and there's this template that we've been using. So I had a look at the framework. I had a look at the template they were using, and I couldn't find any obvious red flags. And even when I saw the service worker, like the response comes from the service worker, it didn't immediately click. But I highly recommend you test the pages in an incognito window just to make sure that there's no local state that is stored on your computer, like cookies or local storage or service worker caches, to make sure that what your users see when they come to your pages initially for the first time is actually what you expect. And I should have just trusted our testing tool that says the page is unreachable. It was right there. I just didn't quite connect the dots. So it's not always just the JavaScript. It might be that the JavaScript is involved in a larger plot, but fundamentally it can be other things. In this case, it was the server setup. It can sometimes be that your markup is not right. It can sometimes be that your canonicalization is not quite right. There's many, many different things that can play together to actually create weird issues or weird problems that we might not have seen before. Another websites once popped up in the website, in the webmaster forums, and their problem was that some of their content was missing. And I thought, that's interesting. So let's have a look. And now I need to change things on my side on the server real quick. Give me a second, because I'm also serving this from localhost 5000. It's just in a different directory on my machine. I think this is the one. So let's have a look. Okay, to make sure that I'm not falling into surprising traps, I will also get rid of the service worker and everything that it has stored, just making sure that I'm not falling into surprising issues here. That's the problem when you like test pretty much everything that you have to deal with, like surprises, like a rogue service worker still being installed. See, that's what I mean. I'm pretty sure what we are seeing here is actually the service worker answering. I thought I killed the service worker quite nicely. There are supposedly no service workers involved. Yeah, that looks better. Still not quite right, but that hints at me having made a mistake. Actually, hold on. And this is not on localhost 5000. This is on localhost 8080. Let's try that instead. Okay, so this is a website that has a bunch of, actually, I'm in the wrong folder, I'm thinking. Yeah, I'm on the wrong folder. That's great. That's also a lovely example, but that's a completely different example, and I don't really have time for this example anymore. So let's not do this one. So then it is on 5000. Let's try that. So we have a new kind of news website here that has a bunch of content. And as you can see, if you look very, very closely on the scrolling bar here on the right-hand side, you might notice that whenever I reach the bottom, it loads additional content. So this is a typical case of infinite scroll, or if you want to call that lazy loading, I call it infinite scroll. And they told me some of their content was missing. And I was wondering, like, okay, so is this just another case of someone having implemented lazy loading, or actually infinite scroll in this case, incorrectly? So we have this running on a public URL. So the first thing that I did is I actually threw this into just for a little change of scenery, we can use the rich results test as well, because here we can also specify if we want smartphone or desktop. The website was not mobile first indexing, so I thought I wanted to try it with a desktop crawler. So that's quite a nice way of actually getting to the crawler of choice. And let's run this through. I don't care that there's no structured data. That's not what is interesting to me. What is interesting to me is the rendered HTML. And here we can see there's a few stories. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and that's it. And I'm pretty sure that here, without counting, that is more than 10. So I was already under the impression that it might not actually load this way. And then I had a look at what this website does. So let's take a look at what happens on this website. Let's start with the network panel. Let's load this website up one more time. Actually, I need more space vertically to actually see what's happening here. We can see that there's one network request happening, and then there's a bunch of network requests apparently happening later on. So what exactly is going on here? Still need more space. So we are seeing that it loads one JSON file. This JSON file seems to just contain a bunch of numbers, and these numbers 22888 318 is exactly the file that it loads then. Okay, so it loads a few stories, and then if I clear the network content and I scroll a little bit, it loads the next couple of stories, and then I scroll a bit, and it loads the next couple of stories. So we can see that it should be loading a bunch of stories here. So we can just try to see if any of these stories are actually being loaded as resources. We can do that here. We go to view details, show all resources, and we see it loads 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And it loads the actual page, like the actual top stories JSON for getting that information. But then it loads nothing else. And it looks like it loads these whenever I scroll, but I'm not so sure. But conveniently, there is a thing here that says initiator. Initiator is great because it tells you where in the code this request gets started. And as we know that this, whatever causes this request isn't happening in Googlebot, we can have a look at what this is. Okay, so this is a show page function. That doesn't really help me that much. What we can do, however, is we can set what's called a breakpoint and then reload the page. So now what happens is this website comes here, it loads the first batch of stuff, okay? And then I scroll down, and then this happens again, I would assume. Oh, it actually breaks now. That's fantastic. No, actually, no, hold on. It stopped again. Okay, cool. And now what we can do is we can have a look here, and we see that there is a window.onOverscroll. What is window.onOverscroll? Window.onOverscroll is a function that allows us to call this code, to run this JavaScript, when the page is scrolled. And now I have the answer that I have to give back to people who are struggling with this, or that I can take and actually call out in our documentation. They are dealing with scroll events. What does Googlebot not do? It doesn't scroll. That's why this is actually not being called when Googlebot is involved, because we are not scrolling anything on the page. So the simple thing here is they need to fix and actually change their implementation to not just use scrolling. They can use things like native lazy loading for images, or if they want to use this to actually like do infinite scroll, some libraries are doing this better, and some other libraries are using intersection observer instead. Both of these ways are valuable. The most important lesson here is test your implementations. If you implement something, they could have done the same thing, and given that they understand what they're looking at, and could have seen that what they are missing is that whatever they're doing is scrolling. In our documentation, we say we don't scroll, so they would need to change their code. Actually, I'm not doing that last part because we are already over time. If you want to learn more about JavaScript to begin with, go here, check all these out. These are fantastic resources, and they point to other resources. And with that, thank you very much. If we have time for questions, we can do questions.
Amazing.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, this way we just appeared because we were running a little bit over time, but I didn't want to stop you because I was like, that is awesome. That is so cool.
And I wasn't running over time. I took my slot.
Yes, it was my fault. I'm so sorry.
No, it's awesome. No, seriously, I was just sitting there. This is so awesome because this is really like what I like the most, you know, just people firing up the computer, just hacking away what they're doing, how they're working, how they're thinking. So thank you so much. This was really incredibly insightful. We actually got a lot of questions for you. So I would just defer those questions to the pub. The most common question was actually, where's your purple hair? There's actually people saying this is not the real Martin because he doesn't have purple hair.
So you can see a little bit of blue is still in here, but the purple has completely faded out in the mean. Actually, there's a little bit of purple here if you really, I'm not sure if the camera catches that well. But yeah, hairdressers are closed. I'm not experimenting with my hair when it comes to colors. I also shaved. I don't have the discipline to keep it clean shaved, but hey, there we go. But yeah, I have to wait until the hairdressers, my hairdresser, my Benji, I miss you. If I get an appointment with Benji, I'll get my hair back on track with colors.
Great.
So, Martin, will you be up for?
Everyone's talking.
Sorry, you go, Marcus. No, all good. So yeah, again, thank you so much. We got a lot of questions. Don't worry. I know, I hope, Martin, you will join us in the pub after the conference. Thank you so much. And I also heard you're going to do some magic tricks. I love this.
I do hope so. Yeah, I mean, me and my little magic wand are absolutely ready to do some magic for you all.
Ooh, nice. So yeah, so after the conference, don't go away. We're gonna start right into the pub, get a beer after this. Unless you're in San Francisco and it's 7 o'clock in the morning, then it's a little bit awkward. But still, you know, join us in the pub. And actually, Martin will lead us into the pub with some cool magic tricks. So thank you so much, Martin. Everybody get applause. So back home, please give a big round of applause to Martin.
Thank you.
So it's so many people. I mean, it's like really, it's thousands of people watching this. So I hope maybe you can hear it a little bit around the world what we're doing here. Next up, without much further ado.
Yes, yeah, we have Bartosz. Bartosz is CEO of Onely, which is, I think, one of the best technical SEO agencies in the world, easily, based in Poland. Bartosz is as wonderfully geeky as they come, and he loves constantly sharing his fire and his knowledge. Are you laughing at me? Yeah, at conferences, on stages, in articles. I know he has a fantastic team over there in Poland. They're always working on preventing and curing technical SEO issues for businesses of all sizes, which is amazing. And they also have some pretty amazing tools out there to help us figure out JavaScript rendering issues and indexing problems. I'm always in awe of what they're working on. I've been a big fan of Bartosz for a while, and we only got to meet last year at Oktoberfest. I think that was the first time we properly got to meet each other. But since then, I think we've got on amazingly. You're one of the funniest dudes ever. You're an absolute asset to this industry. Please give a warm welcome to Bartosz Góraľewiץ.
Now, I think we're done now. Like after such an intro, I don't think I can live up to that anyhow. So without any further ado, let's move forward. So let's get started with the conference bingo. So sorry, the conference call bingo. So let's start with the first one. Can you guys see my screen? Because this is actually a real question. So yes. Just that, yeah. Oh, thank you so much. So yeah. So I want to start with something we're struggling with, and you probably know this slide with conference called bingo and all those weird things that we now say when being locked down in our houses. So I don't want to go over this. I want to go over the conference called bingo, that we as SEOs, as marketers, see quite often. So I did a little bit of a poll on Twitter, but actually a lot of these are from my own experience. So we SEOs are often asked about the Pareto rule. Let's only do the 20% of. I want to keep the time. Let's only do 20% of the work that's going to give us 80% of the results, and so on. So some of the low-hanging fruit kind of tasks for technical SEO. Some growth hacking, important stuff, and so on. So I figured that today I don't want to geek out that much, because during those calls, that's how I look like. Sorry, Martin, to include you in a GIF, but yeah, we saw that coming. And I wanted to somehow help out not only you as SEOs address that problem, but also you as potential clients. Maybe you work in-house, maybe you will talk to an SEO agency, understand a little bit of the complexity, you know what I mean, that we're struggling with recently. So my goal today is to keep it very light, positive, because the time is limited, and move forward with that. So this is something like that. I hope that Martin is not looking right now. In 2019, in December 11th, around December 11th, we started to see not only that was an update date, but after that date, we saw that indexing stats for a lot of big brands were monitoring with our toolset. All the indexing stats for JavaScript went down quite a bit. So we saw that something has changed at Google, and they stopped indexing quite a bit of content, according to our toolset. Martin, if you like, we can talk after that. But I'm not going to be going in depth into that topic. You can find some of the research we did on that. But I think this was the day when Pareto rule died for SEOs, And oh my God, that's creepy. Like Martin just DM'd me that he's listening. Good. So I think this is the last day when Pareto rule was somehow excused in the SEO world. So I want to go through some of the case studies, and my statement is I do not offend any big brand. A lot of those, if not most of those, are simplifications, and I'm not as skilled as Martin to create like a whole website with that problem on such short notice, especially. So I want to go through some of the brands that please don't look at those like this one problem for that website and they rank better again. But the problems are real and yeah, they have to be fixed. So this is also a touchy topic for SEOs. As I believe, there are 4 main pillars of technical SEO, and after another Twitter poll, I've confirmed that most of the answers were somehow within these 4. So for me, it's content. Obviously, you need to have some kind of value. Links still matter, even though we as in the technical agency don't create them actively for clients. Crawling and rendering and indexing after that. And from my point of view, one of the most important things: website structure, information architecture, indexing strategy, all those geeky parts that play a massive role, especially if you own like a large brand, large domain with millions of products. And now everything got a little bit more complex, but it's also something that we kind of skipped in the SEO community. SEO community. Perfect, Bartosz. Good work. Anyhow, even though we have clients or in-house SEOs or other agencies we talk to, it's not that common for a store, for an e-commerce store, for anyone to look at just 2 views of mobile crawl of the same domain and desktop crawl. And this is not an exception. The screenshot you're seeing with completely different website graphs of the same website, just using different user agents and rendering in this case. So you can see mobile crawl rendered that, and so this content, desktop crawl without JavaScript. So a completely different view. So we can see that JavaScript is duplicating the content here somehow. So let's start with these 2 basics, because then we can copy that to, okay, let's look at the mobile version of our website with and without JavaScript. Let's look at desktop version with and without JavaScript. So everything that Martin was saying before, let's start with basic. Let's look from the top. So if all those things work, so in this case of this website with JavaScript on a mobile, everything seems to be working fine. But when we do with desktop without JavaScript, Google cannot really render that, or we can assume that there may be some kind of issue to address because we have 2 completely different graphs. We need to understand that. Sometimes that's fine. In many cases, it's not perfect, because if you lose that website structure, because, for example, what Martin said before, you scroll down, new pages, they don't load, so you lose the structure. Crawling and rendering is struggling, and again, as the example, thank you, Martin, I didn't know you're going to talk about that, but this is actually very helpful. They cannot crawl and render content because they cannot find it, and then they don't find their content. So all this work when we created a website goes to waste because it's not going to be found and we're not going to get the traffic. I'm not going to go after Medium that much today because I feel like they got around like their share of our attention recently. But we can assume that website like Medium.com has a lot of content, wonderful links. They actually have the full package. I think that they have the most content out of all of the websites in this landscape. But if we look into website structure and information architecture and do one simple query of just site medium in URL has recommended, actually in URL reminds me of the good old times of Black Hat, but we can see there's 1.2 million results for just people who clapped on other stories. So if you clap on something on Medium, it creates an indexable URL, which is bad. So on top of that, there are other issues like sitemap havoc, internal linking that's somehow not perfect, broken important pages, outbound canonicals that are not perfect. So we can see, okay, one of those pillars is gone. So we don't have that structure for Googlebot to go through the website, or maybe the structure is just full of shit URLs, like some kind of index float of sorts. So we're wasting that quite a bit. So then crawling and rendering struggles, and we're not getting that traffic again. Looking at the example in the wild, this is a completely unique article about pigeon driving your bus. I'm guessing it's a metaphor. And if we look into that, this URL is not indexed. And I know because Martin showed me that I need to look at the content. Sometimes the content is not indexed as well, even though it's unique and I'm guessing valuable. But Google found this within the listing of that author. So we can see, okay, there is something wrong that we have unique, assuming valuable content, but it's not indexed on a website, on a platform that's somehow designed for sharing content that we choose because the content on Medium ranks better. That's one of the reasons for a lot of people. And this goes up to up to 16%, like in our sample of Medium posts not being found in Google. And most of those, if there is any duplication externally, they rank very well on LinkedIn, other places. So this is one of the examples of one of the pillars kind of going after the whole structure. So I have a part about rendering, but I know you guys are probably not looking to geek out that much, especially after like a very nice stuff from Martin. Like it was really, really valuable. So I want to make it very easy. I figured that Martin is going to geek out, give us some meat. I won't try to beat that. So I will make a rendering simple, nice, and easy. And we're going to have a fashion talk with Bartosz right now about rendering. It makes sense. So sorry about some of the next slides, but yeah. So I was kind of bored during the pandemic, and I figured I'm going to create a fashion show to show an example of H&M. So I want to create a full summer outfit for myself using only products that are not indexed in Google from H&M. And there has to be quite a lot of linen, and I need a gold chain because you know my style, you know how I roll. Linen, white linen, gold chain, and we're done. And none of the product URLs can be indexed in Google at the time I created this dichotomy. So I started with a couple of inspirations. That would be a wonderful look for Bartosz for the summer, but there's one thing missing. Now it's so much better. So we have the look, and there's last thing, we need a gold chain and a hat. I figured, okay, I just need to find that look at H&M, but only products that are not in index. So I created a simple shopping list of things I need to buy, and let's see how that works. So first of all, I found a linen shirt that seems to fit the shopping list, and it's not indexed. Like bingo, like we're getting somewhere. After searching for the product number, only found ones from China, India, Ireland. I didn't find the one from the URL I used. It was okay. And going back to the through the shopping list, I found all of these at so yeah, there is the where are my manners? So there's the shirt. I think very nicely matching linen pants, not in index as well. Gold chain, also not indexed, it's for men, checked. Hat fitting the whole outfit, and yeah, briefs obviously, boxers for the whole thing, and sneakers. So all of these are not in Google index, and this is a perfect outfit for me for the summer of 2020, as soon as we can get out. And I just wanted to show you, mission accomplished. I wanted to show you how this may have happened, what's under the hood of that problem. So if we look at the H&M desktop crawl, something we went through in the very beginning with Ryte, obviously, without JavaScript, we can see a lot of canonicalized URLs out of 50,000. Most of those are canonicalized. Maybe it's a bug from the crawler. I didn't even look into that, but we see two completely different graphs. So this is something to look into. So let's look into what would JavaScript do. So one of our tools, free, no strings attached. You can go in there and look at that. And looking at the difference of the product, it looks fine. Nothing like it's not bad. But we've designed one more geeky part of that tool. So we look at the links that got affected by JavaScript. Let's look at that. So for this product, my linen shirt that I'm obviously going to buy for the summer, we can see that this page is adding quite a lot of URLs with JavaScript. At the same time, it's removing quite a bit of those with JavaScript. So the website graph changes completely depending on if we render, if we don't render that page. And it got me thinking, okay, if we go to shirts category, maybe this shirts category, again, exactly like in the example from Martin, maybe if we switch off JavaScript or we try to do things that Google doesn't do, like Google doesn't click, if there is no link, it's going to be a problem. We see, okay, this is a problem. So potentially, so looking back to our graph that I forgot to add at the end, just having rendering issues is gonna affect your crawling and rendering, your structure and your content. So by just having technical issues, you're gonna have problems with indexing your content and selling that in the long run. So just at the very, very end, looking at the content itself, let's imagine that our website, so that H&M, I misplaced one slide. So that H&M crawling and rendering is broken. Then the website structure is affected by that, as Google cannot find that shirt because there is a pagination to get to that product. And after that, you're losing part of your traffic. And one last thing, and this is not a technical problem. Like if your website doesn't have like this amazing content, or your content is not as good as content of your competitors, that's also one of the pillars. Without content, you're not going to have good links. And even if your technical structure is amazing, you're not getting traffic as well. So this is all something to help you out or help you either get clients in this time or explain them why they cannot only do like 20%, why we need to look at that holistically at the whole thing, the whole SEO. So takeaways, obviously, yeah, all of the case that there are simplifications. I looked only at one problem. We would have to look into the whole like H&M, whole medium, and so on. So I only wanted to highlight a specific technical problem. Pareto rule doesn't apply to technical SEO. In my opinion, it never did. But just I think even like now after all these changes, it's even more of it's even more up to date. We need to focus a little bit more on understanding the whole structure, the technology, like everything that we work with, like the whole stack of our client, how they create content, how they serve content, what technology is responsible for each part of the website. Without that, we don't lose only like 10% of the traffic. In a lot of cases, we lose either our content being indexed, so quite a lot of traffic because we're not getting traffic to part of the website, or we can drop with updates, what we also saw, and so on. So this is like a high stake game. And yes, I know there's always somebody in the webinar, so I'm 100% sure that one of you, and I'm not gonna point fingers, but Google can find this shirt's URL in the sitemap. Yeah, and yeah, that's how we found that URL at H&M, for example, or at Medium. But this is not how technical SEO works. You need to find how this URL is placed within the domain, internal links. You need to understand how the structure looks like from the search engine's point of view. Otherwise, they wouldn't crawl us, and it wouldn't be like that. I see you, Izzi. I'm almost done. We need to step up our game and literally earn our content to be indexed in Google. This is something that's happening for the first time, and we saw that like one of those puzzles, one of the dominoes is broken. Everything, that's a terrible, you know what I mean. One of the things doesn't work, and everything breaks down. So to do for today, go to Ryte.com, crawl your website with JS enabled and disabled, and compare those crawls. Like this is all you have to do to most likely find massive issues. Like if your website is not a WordPress blog with 50 pages, I'm pretty sure you will find quite a bit of problems. Even with that, that's possible, but you will find quite a lot of problems. Compare those JS versus desktop mobile JS versus desktop JS. So not only JS to Node.js, but desktop to mobile. See which lanes are maybe disappearing with you shrinking that website, that view. Earn that traffic, and at the very end, sign up to our newsletter because we're going to be publishing more about that. And see you on the other side. I think this is going to be our look after the thing is over, with no barbers and everything. So I'm getting closer. If I take off my hat, I can very similar. So thanks so much. See you on the other side. And again, thanks so much for your time. Thank you guys for hosting me. And I'm super impressed with how much with no barbers and everything. So I'm getting closer. If I take off my hat, I can. We have someone didn't mute their tab with the webinar because there is a delay. Anyhow, thanks so much, guys.
I think it's gone now. Thank you, Bartosz, so much.
Everyone. Making it here around the world back to Poland. Yeah, thank you so much. It was awesome, really cool.
Thanks so much.
Loved it.
I was like gonna start a fashion show. I'm like, oh my god, what is he doing? We have reviewed his slides before.
Actually, Izzi did. I was worried about few.
I gave him full rein, and I'm proud. I loved it.
Also, probably not the best person to review slides as Izzi. I love you, Izzi, but you know what I mean. Probably
Yeah,
not
I know what you mean.
the best filter out there.
Nope.
Yeah. So thanks so much, and I'm giving it out to Kevin.
So we actually got a couple of questions, but they are actually not SEO related. It's just about fashion. So
Yeah.
Again, we can skip those and save some minutes. But we're actually pretty good on time. Actually, we're just running 10 minutes over. So thank you very much. And you already see him right here, our next speaker. And I have the honor to introduce him. Yeah, Kevin made a name for himself in the German SEO scene. So personally, for me, it was so great to see him establish himself in the US, in Silicon Valley. You know, Germany is a very proud SEO culture, so this was needed to be said. He's a startup mentor for the German Accelerator program in the Valley. He has worked for lots of huge brands. He ran SEO for Atlassian, and now he's spearheading growth at G2. He's very technical, but a true marketer at heart. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to Kevin INDIG.
Wow, what an intro, man! I'm red. I'm blushing here. Thank you so much, Marcus. You can see my screen, right?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. Okay, just wanted to make 100% sure. I'm going to switch right presentation. Not going to waste too much time, but thanks to everybody for tuning in, and Marcus and Izzi for having me and giving me such an amazing intro. Again, I need to compose. But anyway, my topic today is how to use data to make right SEO decisions during a crisis. Bit of a long title, but very important to me. We obviously all understand the implications of COVID and of the current situation. And when all of that started to take place and become apparent, I thought a lot about the role of marketing and especially SEO, and also how we can help. What I'm saying, how we can help, I mean, we're not doctors, right? Our job is not as crucial as theirs, but how can we help businesses from going under and potentially save some jobs? And I think the importance of Google traffic and SEO and marketing in general is, it really has to be taken into consideration when it comes to companies and how companies make the best decisions. And that's, like kind of the intro to my presentation. The question is, why should you care? And the answer, as I alluded to already, was because the right decisions are crucial when it comes to life or death of a company, not of people, of a company. And I'm saying that because I spend a substantial amount of time looking into case studies from past recessions and economic crises, and reading a ton of dry papers. And the one thing that becomes apparent is that companies that make the right decision early on don't just thrive during the recession and survive, but also after. So I think we're all, whether we are freelancers, consultants, agencies, or working in-house, we all have to deal with lower revenue unless you maybe work at Zoom or some of the few remote companies that are profiting from the situation. But we all have to face huge decisions with major implications. And I think SEO is a real help when it comes to that. So again, looking at this screenshot, Bain and Company found when looking at lots of different other companies, I think over hundreds in the Great Recession, that the winners made the right decisions very early on. And also there was a very interesting research from the Harvard Business Review where they found that companies in recession typically fall into 4 different categories. There are those that cut costs really hard across the board. Those are the prevention companies. There's the opposite, the promotion companies that aggressively invest. Then there are the pragmatic companies that show more of a mix. But then there are the progressive companies that cut moderately and then steer investments to where it helps the most. And those are also the ones that usually thrive in a recession. And another point why SEO is so important is because it's very close to actual consumer behavior. And understanding consumer behavior is absolutely crucial if, as a company, you want to thrive during a recession. And so the first thing that you have to keep in mind is that we have to actually re-segment our customer base, because we cannot move forward with the same segmentation as before, because all of our segments are impacted in a different way by recession. They're the ones that are not impacted at all. Those are the ones that you find in the 3rd row, the comfortably well-off people. There are those that don't care about the recession and just live for the moment in the 4th row. But then there are the ones that are highly impacted by recession, the so-called slam on the brakes customer segments. And so we need to not only kind of reevaluate how our products serve these customers, but we also need to make sure that our marketing is aligned to serve these customers in the best way possible. So we have to tailor our tactics. And at the same time, speed is absolutely crucial. So what you see here is a Google Trends screenshot showing or comparing 3 topics that have absolutely no relation at first: video conferencing, summer vacation, and bread baking. And I didn't just choose bread baking because I'm German and we Germans love bread, but because these topics are actually all changing during the crisis. So you see that, for example, summer vacation on the very right of the graph is not a really topic anymore. Like, people are not really thinking about it right now as they did a couple years ago, which makes perfect sense because nobody knows when all of the lockdown and uncertainty is going to end. But of course, people are relying on video conferencing to speak to their loved ones, to the people that are far away that they really care about. And they also think about baking bread, which again makes me happy, but they try to spend some time and get over the boredom. And then lastly, you can also see how very, very important matters can be better understood with data that comes straight from Google. Google is by far the largest search engine. There's no doubt about that. And at the same time, it is a good reflection of consumer behavior. So you can see, for example, that way more people look for furlough than layoffs or even remote jobs. So actually, a very hard reality to face, but a very important one. And then lastly, we at G2 see the same thing. We saw that some of our software categories are booming. So for those who don't know what G2 does and who we are, we're a software marketplace for B2B software. You can imagine it like the Amazon of software. And we saw that in the last couple of weeks, some of our software categories just went absolutely through the roof, which makes perfect sense, but not all of the categories are the usual suspects. So of course, we have something like audio and video conferencing, but we also had stuff like e-signature, remote desktop, remote support, or HIPAA compliant messaging. And so if we weren't looking at our traffic, and that's all organic traffic, then we wouldn't be aware of this change in consumer behavior and consumer needs. But instead, we realized early on, and we aligned our whole business to those categories. And now we can, now we have a vehicle to carry us through the crisis. So the way that I would make that a bit more tangible in terms of SEO is, of course, to look for questions like, all the questions that contain a question word like can, is, how much, all of that type of stuff, and really make sure that we understand how the searches and the need for answers to those questions changes over time. So long story short, let's talk some data sources. First of all, of course, I mentioned Google Trends a couple of times. There's no big surprise here, Google Trends, I think, has become one of the most crucial tools for SEOs recently, because most rank trackers or search volume providers out there update their database on a monthly basis. But in a recession where things move so quickly, it is important to have data that is as up to date as possible, and Google Trends provides that for us. In fact, when we look for something like home workout, we see that it already spiked. It is on the way down, and I do expect it to stagnate somewhere, but if you wouldn't keep a consistent pulse on some of these trends, you wouldn't understand that maybe it has spiked already. At the same time, again, I already mentioned furloughs, but when you use comparisons, you get a real understanding for what's more important to users or what has a higher demand, right? So layoffs apparently are not closely as searched for as furloughs at the moment, which can help you to better understand the current situation, maybe even the economy, but definitely what's on people's minds. And then lastly, you obviously want to look at all the other data that Google Trends provides. I think the map is really interesting because it tells you geographic differences. And because we're currently dealing with a biologic threat, not necessarily a pure financial one like in other recessions, it makes a lot of sense to look at geographic data, and Google Trends provides that. So you would see, for example, that furloughs are searched in some states and layoffs are searched in other states. And that in itself is very interesting. But then there are also tools like that help us to understand social media and how people act on those platforms, which is super important. And one of those is Hashtagify. It monitors hashtags and also gives you trends and sentiments. So that's very interesting. You can, I think, search, you have an unlimited number of keywords you can search for free and get data for. And you usually get something like the total popularity and recent popularity. You'd get an understanding of monthly and weekly trends. And it would also have an overview of the related words that come with your search. And I find that really, really important. And then, yeah, sure, you also see who tweets about that, but just that in itself gives you a lot of information. And then there's also a popularity trend over time. And I find that very, very helpful also for SEO, even though it's Twitter or a social platform, but it gives me an understanding of where people's mind is at. And maybe we don't see the same reflection in search volumes yet, but we will see in the future, because usually search volume is a lagging trend. Next, speaking of trends, Pinterest trends. Very, very interesting move from Pinterest to create something like Google Trends. It's only in beta so far for the US market, but it already provides some very interesting insights. So I already mentioned that home workout has spiked, and that's also the case on Pinterest. And if we compare that to Google Trends, we see a very, very similar pattern of the graph here. So I think that, first of all, Pinterest trends data is very interesting because it gives us a different perspective on some topics. But it also seems to me that the data is already pretty robust and allows us to draw some conclusions from it. At the same time, similar to Google Trends, Pinterest trends also gives us related terms to the ones that I was looking for. And so if I was to write if I was to do keyword research for a piece of content about home workouts, then I would definitely also want to include ab workouts, HIIT workouts, plans, full body workouts, and all that kind of stuff. So I think it starts to become a good source of keyword discovery. And then lastly, you can set up a free Pinterest business account. I just did that with my personal account, which is why you don't see a lot of data here. I don't use it that frequently, but I think there's a lot of interesting data to be gained in terms of impressions, the audience, and engagement if you use Pinterest a lot, and if Pinterest is even relevant to your business. I also recently found eBay Explore, which follows a very similar kind of pattern as Pinterest trends and Google trends, but gives you eBay data. And it's very interesting because they show you products that recently gained a lot of traction or were searched for a lot recently, and then shows you some sort of search volume for them as well. So you would see how many searches in the last 6 weeks, for example, this Babe Adidas sneaker got. You would see when it spiked. And you also interestingly see data about how much it's worth and trending keywords that are related to this one. So if I was an e-commerce store with some flexibility, I would certainly be curious what would happen if I were to write content about that. And once again, I used Google Trends as a benchmark here for the keyword leg lamp, and it seems that the spikes show a very similar pattern on both platforms. So also here, I think the data is somewhat robust and can be used to better understand consumer behavior changes. Next one is exploding topics. And exploding topics is very interesting because it was recently bought by Brian Dean, the writer and owner of Backlinko, which I'm sure many of you are reading and have heard of. And it's especially appealing to me because I think Brian realized that the keyword planner data is becoming more and more outdated and meaningless. And this exploding topics, as the name very simply says, allows you to look at topics that gain a lot of traction, and the tool looks at lots of different sources. I think Google Trends, YouTube, Amazon, and a couple of others. And you can zoom in here and understand trends on a macro level, but you can also, you can zoom out and you can also zoom in and understand trends on a micro level. So this is very important because if you compare these two data trends before and after, you would think that they're increasing, but also here for remote work or customer relationship management, we would see that they're actually decreasing when we split this into a view that's based on 3 months. I also heavily recommend to you to use the search function. So you are not reliant on the topics that are shown on the homepage, but you can search for lots of different topics. And not only do you get some related ones, but you can also use this as a discovery tool. Then there's a competitor called Trendly, which is also very interesting. They also allow you, or they also show you the most interesting trends on the homepage, but you can also punch in a keyword and check out the data for yourself. And I found it too interesting because it also gives you the related queries or keywords on other platforms, not only Google, but also Amazon and YouTube. So I found that very, very helpful. And then there's another one called Glimpse. Follows a very, very similar pattern here or process. They do not allow you to necessarily search for the data, but they also show you the most interesting trends that they have noticed. And they send you a pretty interesting newsletter, which I've started to read, in which they don't only send you the most interesting trends of the month, but they also explain the background to you. So if we're talking about consumer change or consumer behavior changes, then I would recommend that as well. And then last but not least, definitely, of course, Ryte. How could I not mention that in a Ryte online conference? And the way that I use Ryte to understand consumer behavior changes is through impressions. So impressions are if your ranking position is stable over time and you look at impressions, it is a very good indicator of search volume as long as you trend on the first page of Google. So within Ryte, you find a module called Search Success, and within it, you can analyze changes over time. And the only thing you have to do is to add a filter to the position trend that equals 0. This way, you ensure that you only look at rankings that did not change in position, because obviously the higher you rank, the more clicks you could get, or the higher your impressions, theoretically, right? But if you do that, if you apply that filter, you would be able to spot changes in impressions that could help you understand whether a keyword is searched for more often or less often. And then you can also apply the same view not only to queries but also to pages. And you would follow the same kind of process here. You would go to Search Success, changes under pages, set the filter to position trend equals 0. And then you get a nice table that shows you what pages are trending up or down. And again, that after a bit more investigation, I'm sure it's very quick to find out whether that was driven by an increased demand or maybe even a dropping demand. And if I was, an e-commerce store, for example, that would give me a good idea of which products are doing well and which are not. But also as a marketplace or other content or editorial sites, you can get very, very good insights. And you can also get alerts from those, for those changes in the anomaly history. And of course, I'm looking mostly for changes in impressions here. So last but not, or to finish this off, what would you obviously do with this data? You would create content, and this can be thought leadership content, but it can also be content, or it can also inform and drive your content calendar if you were planning to write about specific topics anyway. And within that content, you can then double down on trends, you can alleviate concerns, especially about certain products, about your company, about the industry, and you can manage or raise expectations. It can even help you to pivot your business model. If you're a company that deals in categories, then that will help you to understand which categories are doing good and which not, and which maybe you shouldn't serve any longer. But it can also help you to understand what people really need within your vertical. And then lastly, you can refocus your product categories to prioritize those that have the highest demand at the moment. So that being said, I think I'm pretty much on time here. I want to thank you for your attention. I didn't do much of a job to introduce myself, but if you're curious about more content from my side, I blog a lot on kevin-indig.com, and I run a newsletter/podcast that's called TechBound. So if you Google that, I should be the top ranking results, and I would love to see if you want to maybe sign up for that. So thank you very much with that.
Great, give it up for Kevin.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you so much. That was awesome. Really cool.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tim.
Yeah. Also, the coolest thing. I mean, we got a couple of questions. Obviously, we got 1 more minute. But the most interesting fact was actually there's your first boss in there in here who hired you as an intern at the Reach Group. Like 2.5 years ago. Flo is here.
That's so cool.
Flo, great guy, by the way. David Zionair, show host from SEO Complex. But interestingly enough, you mentioned Hashtagify, hashtagify.com. And as I said, we have thousands of people in here watching the stream, and we actually brought down the website. So there were so many people checking out Hashtagify that the page broke down. So that's pretty impressive. And it was Flo who actually mentioned this. So thank you so much. That was really awesome. There was a lot of great tips on how to do research.
Thank you so much.
For me, I definitely want to check out the Pinterest one as well. So that was really, really cool. Thank you so much for being here with us today. We'll probably see you in the pub as well, right? In the virtual pub.
Absolutely, 100%.
Great.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Kev.
Cool.
Thank you too. Pleasure being on.
Oh.
Yeah, we are really good on time. Kevin was fantastic on time. So we have our next speaker tuning in. Is she here? Is she here? Hello.
I'm here.
Oh, Cindy.
Cindy from Denver, Colorado. Hello to Denver, Colorado. I hear you got snow today again. Oh, yeah. As you can already see and hear, Cindy has a very bad internet connection. She had this all morning. So what she did, as the professional she is, she actually pre-recorded her talk and sent it to us. So we don't have any broken off. So you can see she has a very bad internet connection here, probably the new snow. So we're going to run it. I think it's better to run it from the video, but obviously she's going to be in the pub as well. So if you have questions after this, don't worry. All questions are going to be answered. But let me introduce you to this fantastic woman first. Cindy is one of my personal top 3 SEO experts in the world for a long time already. She has some of the most outlandish theories I've ever heard, but scaringly enough, she has been right on a couple of occasions already. So of course, when she blogs, it always has to be a series of 6-7 articles, 20-30,000 words each, heavy thoughts, definitely not a light fare, but it's always worth to read about her thoughts when it comes to mobile SEO, because Cindy is mobile SEO. So please give it up for Cindy KRUM from Denver, Colorado.
Okay, hi everybody. My name is Cindy KRUM, and I'm the CEO of Mobile Moxie, based in Denver, Colorado. We do mobile SEO and ASO consulting and have an awesome mobile tool set for SEO, as well as APIs and fun stuff like that. So I'm super excited to be talking to you today at the Ryte Tech SEO All-Stars Better Together webinar. And I'm sorry if we just experienced some technical difficulties or if I can't be live. The internet in my neighborhood has been appalling recently, so I recorded a video for you guys instead, and hopefully I'll be able to join you for Q&A. But just to be safe, we got you a video. And today I'm talking about language and SEO. You're doing it all wrong with the theme of coffee, because coffee is kind of an international language. Everyone loves coffee, or at least tea. Warm drinks that are brown are fantastic. So let's start by stating the obvious, that algorithms are language specific, and this is important because different languages use different words or even different numbers of words to convey the same idea. Languages are different, and that is important to algorithms, especially Google's. But people get very confused when talking about language and how it impacts SEO, because there are a lot of different things that come into play or that people think come into play. There is the country version of Google that you're operating in. You can see this one is google.de. There's the query language, which does not have to match the country version of Google. You can see in this one, I've written something in Spanish. And then there's the search language settings, or the phone settings, that Google pulls in to understand what is the language of your choice, your default language that you operate in. And all of these things can have an impact on SEO and results and the way you track things, but most SEOs are forgetting about that last one, the search language settings, which does in fact impact rankings. So if we look at Search Console, it looks like this, and you can see across the bottom we have queries, pages, countries, devices, search appearance, and dates, but no language. They don't talk about language, and language is important. And I think that they've omitted language here because it just adds a whole nother level of complexity in the reporting, because Google can often, it seems, detect language and interpret meaning from the language that you're choosing to use and how it relates to other settings on your phone and your search query. For instance, if I ask, how do I say X in Spanish, Google understands that returning a different language result, or at least translation result, is valuable. So they understand intent as it goes along with language, but they don't report back on it. And I think that this is just to simplify the reporting, because it is important, but it's just to make their system easier for you guys, for everyone to get information out of. The problem with that is it makes us optimize for what's easy to measure, aka what's easy to measure in Search Console, while ignoring what's difficult to measure. And the impact of language on SEO is difficult to measure, but that's not to say that we shouldn't try. And this is especially important in places where multiple languages are spoken, and multiple languages are spoken often, and people are multilingual. So less important in the United States, and more important in places throughout Europe and the rest of the world where people are actively multilingual and search using different languages frequently without actually changing their language settings, because of course people do not change their language settings even if they speak multiple languages. Now I know what you're thinking. Look at the American discovering that the rest of the world isn't like America, and yes, I know. But as an SEO, I've focused on mobile SEO and international SEO. So Google cares about it very much as well. And you should care about it very much, which is especially important to companies who target tourists or immigrants, whose website facilitate international business, whose website serves international clientele, or who tend to be dealing with mobile users who have language settings that are impacting their search results. So let's talk about how normal setup of a keyword tracking goes. So this is normal, where you have Switzerland and you're saying I'm in Switzerland, and I set it up for Swiss German, and here's my German or Swiss German keyword list. And you put those things together. And you do the same for Italian. So in Switzerland, they have 4 key languages, really three that are big, French, German, and Italian. And so we do Switzerland and then the Italian, we put the Italian keywords there, and Switzerland and French, we put the French keywords there. That's how the normal setup is. Or if you're using other tools that don't allow you to specify a language, maybe you're just specifying a country. That's also normal. The problem is that doesn't give you as accurate a result as what you might need, and it misses showing you opportunities that are actually there. So let's do a test. We're going to do a local-oriented query from Zurich where multiple languages are spoken. And let's go ahead and do it from the Google offices in Zurich. That's fine. And we'll do 3 people sitting together, and let's pretend they have the exact same phone, exact same everything, location and everything. The only thing that will change is their location, their language settings. And so first we'll start with something normal. We'll have a German language setting, and we'll do a query in German. We'll have a French language setting and a query in French, an Italian language setting, and the query is in Italian. These are different keywords, so of course they give different results, but the results are actually very different. And so if you're tracking things separately, it's hard for you to really understand the heavy impact that not only to tease out the impact that the language setting has and the impact that the keyword itself has. So you can see, for instance, here Zurich.com only shows up in 2 of the 3 languages. Cafe CH is just killing it in Italian, but is nowhere else to be seen in the other 2 languages. Coffee Circle is showing up twice in German, once for the .com, once for the .ch. Cafe Central showing up twice, but only in German. Timeout and a timeout image carousel. You're not going to know about that image carousel if you're only using Search Console. Trot.ch showing up twice, but only in French. And Zurich.com showing up twice, but only in French and Italian. And this is what it looks like when you take out the Google-oriented queries, the things that Google has put in there. Remember, these are things like search by image, interesting finds, carousels, stuff like that. So, okay, I know what you're thinking. Duh, they're different keywords. You're going to get different results. That has nothing, that's not the search language. Like, okay, fine. Let's take a look at a keyword that's the same in multiple languages. So we're starting with espresso in Italian. And we go, and you can see that the Annunzio, that's Italian, and we've got a espressorepublica.it, and then a map pack, and then a Twitter carousel, Wikipedia with some images, kind of a long Wikipedia. There's Facebook, espresso.it with a big web store image, and then we get to the bottom and you can see it says Italiano. So we're going to click on German, we're going to switch. We've still got the ads. You can tell that it's German because that top nav and the ad announcement is now in German. Now we start with the knowledge graph. It's got different pictures and it's got a carousel. We look, we get the maps. Now we're going to compare side by side. The left side still has the Italian result. And you can see that even the map was a little bit different. So that shows us that it's not the query that's necessarily changing the result. It's the language setting. And so let's dig into this, because I think a lot of people forget this and don't realize how it works in a search result. And you might be missing huge opportunities in your SEO because of that. Because just changing the language of a query is not enough to get a valid test result or a valid reporting result from any of your tools, and just changing the country version is not enough. There are 3 things that impact the way you target languages. And this is also important from a standpoint of if you're looking at knowledge graph or featured snippets. Google is actually changing the knowledge graph to fit your phone language. So this was a search for Amazon, written in English, but the phone language is Hindi, and so you can see that they've translated the knowledge graph into Hindi, because I've said I speak English, go back up, see, it's written in English, but they're translating the knowledge graph and some of the stuff that they host to fit my preference, and they're translating a lot of the headlines and the calls to action, but the results, because I searched in English, are still in English, the blue link results. And this is important. Only one language can be passed, and it's your top language setting. So even if you select multiple languages, every searcher only gets one language that's going to impact search queries. And search results can change based on that language setting, even when everything else is the same. And you see that for the impact of knowledge graph and from Espresso. So the knowledge graph can also change. It's not just what the knowledge graph says, but the results and the way it's formatted can change. And then featured snippets, what wins the featured snippet can change based on the language setting. So let's do the new test. Same thing, 3 people sitting together at the Zurich headquarters, and the only thing that's different is the phone language settings. And remember, people are multilinguals. So here what we have is the German language setting, the French language setting, and the Italian language setting, but the keyword is always the German spelling of coffee. And you can see by the color coding that things are dramatically different here. And for instance, Wikipedia shows up in all 3, but in different places. Only one of them has a knowledge graph. Only one of them has people also ask. 2 of them have search by image. And then within that, the actual websites that are there are very different. And then that's what's taken from Google. So what you can see here is that actually understanding that someone whose language setting is French but might be searching for a German keyword, you have a much better chance of getting their attention when you block out all the stuff that Google is taking, because German is full of Google stuff that's hard to outrank and also takes attention away. But in French and Italian, there's less competing for the eyeballs. And when people in a place where people speak these languages interchangeably, that might be really relevant for your SEO strategy. So here's the same thing, but we're searching with the French spelling of the keyword. And this one, it's not so different. They all have search by image. Only 2 have Wikipedia. They all have maps. Only one has people also ask. There's a translation answer, and this one shows a knowledge graph at the bottom in the German with French keyword. And they also show just different number of results in here. And of course, dig deep and let your eyes settle, and you'll see that there are different websites ranking as well. And there's what Google takes out of that one. So again, even here, German, it's not just because German and German matched in the previous one. German just has a really high integration of Google hosted things. And we see this, even the tool softwares will report that different languages have a different amount of hosted inclusions from Google, different featured snippets, different percent or likelihood of featured snippets, and different likelihood of knowledge graph. And that changes by language and by country. So here, the only thing that shows up a lot is Zurich.com, shows up in all 3 searches, but at the very top in Italian. And some things are just showing up in one query language, search language combination, or a lot of them, most of them, let's say. Zay Heringer shows up in 2, and Harry's Ding. You guys are laughing at me. I'm probably mispronouncing that, but that one only shows up in 2. Okay, so here's the last one. This is the Italian spelling with the different language settings. You can see again, they are different map results in each, but in Italian, with the Italian language setting, it's showing up 1 down after CAP-ACH, which also owns the 3 results after the map pack, which is insane. Only knowledge graph is in German. They're just great at those German knowledge graphs. And then interesting finds is only in German, but search by image is only in French and Italian. So that's what Google takes there. And that's how good CAP-ACH is, just killing it in Italian. It's okay in French, and it's totally gone when the language setting is in German. So that's that. So what I want to recommend that you do in my little time left is to not do things the way you were, but instead mix all, if you're working in a place that speaks multiple languages and that people are likely to be multilingual and searching without changing their language settings, pack all of the keywords in each language setting in your keyword tracking. This is an example with SEMrush, but whatever you're using, if you have the ability to do so, put all of the keywords in all of the languages in each group, and set up a group for each language setting, but keep the keyword list the same. So all of the translations there, and do this, in this case, 3 times, once for French, once for German, and once for Italian, because then you're really going to see the more realistic scenario of what's ranking where, even when people are not searching in the same language as their phone setting, because this is quite common. If you're multilingual, you know, you probably will search in any of the languages that you speak without changing the setting. So include all keywords in all languages for the country, and for each country language combo, do a separate setup in SEMrush or whatever tool that you're using. So think about it like this, not like this, right? You're too constricted the way that most SEOs do it. And then test and look at real results with all the settings. And this is where I mentioned that Mobile Moxie has a tool that lets you see real search results. It's what those screenshots were all from. And it lets you even do local search results with changing the phone language. And they're clickable and interactive, and you can see them from anywhere, and you can generate a radius grid like that. And it's a cool tool for getting a realistic understanding of how the variations might change, or how the location impacts things and things like that. And we also have the ability to export all of those tests to a Google Sheet like this, and then you can just click on the icon to run the test with the different language settings. So you can put all your keywords in and change the language setting just casually, and click and check it out. So I created a promo code so you guys can try it. Here you go. And I hope that I'm under time, and I hope that we have time for Q&A. Thank you.
Thank you, Recorded Cindy. Well, thank you very much. That was really awesome. Yeah, too bad you have such a bad internet connection, but I hope you still stay around for the pub. We have a couple of questions for you. I would just defer this to the pub. Actually, somebody asked what is with the pub, so we're actually going to stay right in here. We're going to pull in all the speakers. We're going to pull some more questions. We have Martin doing some magic tricks. It's going to be a lot of fun. Grab a beer. Again, as I said, if you're on the West Coast, maybe not in the morning, although Lauren Baker said it's cool, so it's awesome, so it's fun. Sure. It's fine with us. We don't judge. Yeah, and I really can just second this, what you just said. Your tool is really awesome. I'm also using this all the time to actually really looking at mobile SERPs, because a lot of people are just going to google.com, Google Co UK, and this is going to be the local SERP. No, that's not what it is. So I'm also using your tool extensively. I really like it. Yeah, thank you so much for your contribution for our Better Together event. Yeah, since we're still running a little bit behind, I would welcome our next guest on the virtual stage, if he's here. I sure hope so. He's here. Nice.
Why would I be here? Of course I'm here.
Very
Where else would I go?
Where else would I go? Yeah. But by saying this, you know where he's from. He's from New York City. Yeah. Looks a little bit like I Am Legend right now, but can you just like turn your camera real quick, because you have the most awesome view from your apartment. I'm so envious of your view when I see this when you're posting pictures. This is incredible. God. This is incredible. It's you and Lily. When you guys are posting pictures, I'm like always so envious.
Yeah, so from the living room, you can see, you know, the World Trade Center, Empire State, like all of the city, because I live in downtown Brooklyn. So we have a great view of Manhattan.
Amazing.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So with Mike, if you don't know him, let me introduce him real quick. When it comes to the full extent of technical SEO disciplines, I really look up to Mike. He's a great combination of a highly talented developer and a very creative marketer. He has lots of experience and a very sharp SEO mindset, but first and foremost, he is Zora's and Glory's dad. So from New York City, ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Mr. Mike King.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thanks for the kind words.
Of course.
Thanks so much for being here, Mike. It means a lot to us. We have a live Q&A session with you today, so no slides. So I encourage the audience to send in any questions that they have for Mike. But yeah, we can also start from our side, I guess.
Cool. Let's go. Let's do it.
Perfect. So Mike, like, I want to get your opinion on something. There's a lot of shit going on at the moment. Obviously, it's a hard time, but there could be some positive outcomes. Like, have you come across anything in your work, with your agency, with your colleagues, any positive outcomes right now that you can share with us?
I think the positive outcomes are just how people are coming together. You know, with our team, I honestly think our team is better now that we've been forced to work from home. You know, it's forced us to work through communication issues. It's forced us to get better at project management. But I think the bigger picture things are just seeing like how the community is coming together and supporting each other. You know, just last night, there's a gentleman named Michael Che, he's a comedian. He's on Saturday Night Live. He announced that he was paying for everyone's rent in a housing project that his grandmother, who just passed away, was living in. So just those types of like community things that are happening have been incredibly awesome here. I mean, I'm happy to talk about SEO. I'm happy to talk to y'all about what's going on here in New York. But you know, it's just been great to see people come together and, you know, just help each other.
Agreed.
Yeah, definitely. And I saw your posts when you leave the house, you like really wear something that you're gonna like ditch completely. You're like full scarf and gloves and stuff like this. This is really, I mean, like we all see the pictures from New York, and it's like really heartbreaking to see this kind of stuff. But it's also encouraging to actually see that it seems to work, right? That the measures seem to work, and yeah, maybe you guys will get back to normal pretty soon.
No, I was going to say, what's normal? I think that's one of the things that we need to be considering as marketers. Like, I think everyone just imagines that, you know, everything's just going to go back to normal. Everyone's going to come out of their house at the same time. We're all going to celebrate, and then we're going to do all the things that we did before. I don't think that's true. I think that, you know, there have been some instances where brands have used this as an opportunity, and they're doing things that people are like, wait, this is actually better. Maybe we should stick to this. So as an example, a lot of films have been delayed because of this. Like there was going to be like a James Bond film that was going to come out. They delayed it to November. But there's this children's film, Trolls World Tour, that came out direct to streaming. And so here's the thing. I don't know if this is a trend in Germany, but it's been a trend in the States in the last few years that movie theaters are becoming more like the home experience. Like they'll serve you food, you can drink and all this. Well, now we're actually watching new debut movies at home, and it's better. So why would you go back to what it was before? I think there's going to be a lot of instances where consumer behaviors are going to change dramatically, and we as marketers need to be prepared for that and figure out like where those opportunities lie.
Most definitely. And we actually have a question from the chat. Christian Baldwin, you probably know, the SEO brother, asked, did you shave for us?
Did I shave for you? No, it's still there. It's all still there. I just haven't combed it out today.
But we have an actually SEO question.
Sure.
So Kareem is asking, if you had to convince a stakeholder with one argument why pulling out their SEO budget right now due to the corona outbreak is the wrong decision. I hope this will take, I sort of rightly formulate, but I think you get it right.
I actually have a lot of arguments for that, but I think the one of the most compelling arguments is just the fact that search is more valuable than ever. And I'm not just saying SEO, it's also paid search as well, because, you know, a lot of the information that we use to determine how we market to people is just completely out of date. Like if you do any sort of market segmentation, all of that is irrelevant because everyone is now forced into new behaviors. And so search is the shortest feedback loop where you can really understand what it is that people actually want and how you can, like, you know, react to it. Any other channel, you don't have that intent. You have a direct intent from search. And so the other part of it is if you pause, you scale back your organic search effort right now, one, it takes time to get it started to begin with and to see value from it. And then two, if you're gonna stop, all your competitors, or not all your competitors, but the competitors that are prioritizing search, organic search, are just going to win even more. Because if, let's say, for instance, you cut your content budget, your link building budget, or you lay off developers who are just working on SEO, you know, there are going to be people that are still working on that stuff, and they're going to just leapfrog you. And then when you do turn all that stuff back on, you're going to be very behind. In fact, I just posted a blog article about this on advancedwebranking.com, where I just go through all my thoughts. You know, like I looked at it from a big picture environmental perspective, and then also all the way down to the actual search demand and how that's changing. And then what are some of the actionables that people can do to first help people, and then also capitalize on these things for their businesses as well. And one of the things that I pointed out from some data that I pulled from, you know, some management consultancy, like everyone that's trying to convince you to keep spending money on search. Those that in previous downturns that did not continue to invest, they saw 14% less profit as compared to those that did continue to invest in marketing and things of that nature. So, you know, I think there's a lot of compelling data and information out there about why you shouldn't. But the reality is, you know, all businesses are going to cut right now because all just trying to make it through. I think it's just about how do you be strategic with that so that you can, one, make sure your brand is still loved by people on the other side of this, and two, how do you capitalize on these opportunities that are happening in real time?
Great answer. Thank you very much. We have another question in the chat from Thiago. Thiago is asking, how do you deal with clients not having the resources to implement the SEO improvements we suggest? I mean, we all know this. We all have this problem. So what do you take?
So my take, I mean, one, at the end of the day, it always comes down to prioritization. You know, like what is it that you can get buy-in for? Because there's always more resources. Like if a business cares about it, they'll hire a whole team for you. And I've seen that happen in some cases. And then the other thing is that we actually have people on staff that can implement. So, you know, the types of engagements we do go up and down the scale, like ones where it's completely hands-off. Here's a couple deliverables. We have some meetings. There's some where we're actually in stand-ups and sprint planning and, you know, reviewing, we're doing QA and such. Or there are instances where it's like we get the keys and we do everything. So it all just depends on what the resources are, and then how do you prioritize things so that they actually get done.
Yeah, I love my root access here. Give me the keys. We'll just do it. Don't worry.
No, when I first started doing SEO, like that's how it was. Like the first agency I worked at in 06, every client we had direct FTP access. So like they would just just give me the site. Yeah, and we just upload the changes. No, that.
I'm sorry for the back and forth. I was just about to say this. I actually just had this with my WS FTP client. And I was actually seeing like a very old entry, and I was like, "What is this?" And I just clicked on it. It was like from 2004, and it would still work. It was like a company. It's like a DAX concern, and it still had like root FTP access from like almost 20 years ago. It's like, holy shit, right? Where did you do that? I didn't do anything.
But that's what's so crazy because, you know, and you've been in it much longer than I have, but like when I first started doing SEO, you know, the expectation was just that you could do everything. And now it's like you just talk about it, you know, so it's a lot easier, but there's also just so many parties between you and the results, which is kind of difficult for me to deal with.
There's actually a good question following up to this from Mark Alves. And he's asking, how do you roll out technical SEO recommendations to a client without overwhelming them? Even high, medium, low buckets can still be intimidating to some clients. We all know this as well. What is your take on this?
Yeah, I think it really just comes down to, you know, when you give them all these recos, depending on how you do it, we do a deliverable, it's our SEO site audit, and there's always a roadmap in there. So here's like the order in which we recommend you guys do these things. And here's also how we measure it so you guys feel comfortable moving on to the next thing. But everything in our decks on these subjects has like 3 indicators for prioritization. So we go 1 to 3 for benefit, ease, and readiness. And so everything is effectively scored, and you can just add them all up, and then you have a order for how you might want to execute them. So I think the the way to do it is like give them the big picture of what's wrong and then narrow it down to like, all right, here's how we're actually gonna turn this into a plan, and then get the right people on board, like bought in to make it happen, and then work with them throughout the process to continue to adjust that roadmap as required. I mean, it's just like being a product manager.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a lot of what SEO is like these days.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Nice.
Actually, a couple of people are already asking if we're going to record the pub as well. I guess some people are really having to leave at 6. But of course, we're just going to have like the whole stream. We're going to record the whole stream and going to publish the whole stream. So don't worry. I mean, don't go, but don't worry. I mean, we're going to record everything. Unless I don't know what happens, you know, with Lauren Baker drinking beer at 7 o'clock in the morning. You never know, right? But, I think I have one more question here from Holly Miller. Holly Miller is asking, question for Mike: what paid services tools have you scaled back on or ramped up at your agency during this time? I think this is a terrific question. Very good question. Thanks, Holly.
Well, we love Ryte.
Everybody loves Ryte. That's easy.
No, I mean, I think we are just now like considering that. So we haven't made any of those cuts on our tools yet, because like having that data is so important to what we're doing. And we're also working on building something. So, you know, having direct access to a lot of API data is incredibly important. But if I had to tell you right now, like what I would cancel, no, let's stay on the positive side. I would keep, you know, Hrefs. I would keep, I'm trying to think of what we pay for. I would keep, you know, Stat. I would keep Ryte. I would keep, off the top of my head, I would say those are 3 that I would definitely keep. Because a lot of the other stuff is kind of like, it's not, you know, there's value in pretty much everything that we use. But I think that some things become kind of superfluous when you gotta think about like what do you absolutely need.
Yeah, same with that, right? Although I would choose SEMrush over Ahrefs. Just me, my personal opinion. Besides Ryte. Yeah, no, okay. So yeah, so I think this is good. Yeah, thank you so much for the light question and answer. I hope you're going to be in the pub as well and joining us after hours. There's still more questions. There's definitely more questions, but I really, since we're like, this would be the official end, and we still get ALEYDA coming, our final speaker. And so I definitely want to give her the time as well. But I hope you stay in the pub, and maybe you also gonna, because Martin has shown some magic tricks, maybe you can do a little rap for us. Because when I said that to Izzi, he was like, "What? He can rap?" And I'm like, "He can't."
I had no idea.
What, like a rap superstar? You even toured through Europe.
Yeah,
I mean that's correct, right?
Amazing.
That is true. Yeah. That's how I know my way around Germany, because I played so many shows there.
Brilliant.
I'm even up for an English-German rap battle, you know. So I'm in.
Yeah. Yeah, and if I don't end up, you know, getting the opportunity to speak with everyone else, feel free to just shoot me questions on Twitter or email me or whatever. Happy to answer anything else. And thanks for having me, guys. And also thanks for organizing this.
Thanks
It's
so
really
much, Mike.
awesome for people to continue to feel connected. Now, ALEYDA.
Look at that!
Nice.
Look here.
Hello, ALEYDA.
Mike,
Amazing.
See you later.
how are you?
Oh, thanks so much for joining. So sorry for running over time. That probably started with me in my introduction running over, but we were just loving saying hi to everyone.
There were so many.
No problem at all.
It's definitely cool, and I mean, like, there's still most of the people are here, so it's all good. We still have well beyond thousands of people here, so it's all cool.
That's
it's your
amazing.
audience. Yeah. Maybe if somebody doesn't know ALEYDA, do you want to say a quick word about ALEYDA?
I would love to. So, of course, she doesn't need any introduction, but I want to give her one anyway. ALEYDA was rightly named the EU Search Personality of the Year in 2018. I Yes, due to her outstanding contributions in the search community, it's amazing to hear that she's working with so many amazing companies. She's got her own agency. She has Remote.net, so she's a huge advocate for working from home. You'll see her on stages. She's contributing to articles, but not only that, she is an amazing and lovely person. So thank you, Aleyda, so much for joining us today for the final session before the pub. And yes.
Oh my God, I feel so pressure. I will need to, finish super fast so we can all have our beers.
It's so good.
Don't worry. We are Germans. We're anyway.
Well, that's true. That's a really good point. But yes, so thank you very much for having me. Well, I'm so very excited because indeed, I mean, I tend to speak a lot about SEO, but not so much about this other side of what I also do, right? Of being remote and how I can, or I am able to work remotely also as an SEO consultant, and hopefully this will be very useful for you too. So definitely it's not by sitting like this the whole day or in the sofa or in the bed for sure. And then of course, you know my SEO side, but also since 2012 I am working remotely, and since 2014 I am working remotely as an SEO consultant too, and founder of my own company. And then also something that not that many people realize is that I also have Remoters.net. That is a website where I share resources to work remotely. We have a job board that is completely for free, interviews, tools, events information. So for example, I had the amazing opportunity to speak with Cindy, and I interview her for our interview. So I have done like dozens of interviews in the last few years to understand and to learn from the journey of many not only SEO consultants who are remote, but business owners, agency owners, people from all different type of sectors. And then, of course, I am a believer that remote work is the driver of many positive changes, even during a pandemic, right? Remote has allowed us to keep working to business continuation has been really like what has kept us going during this very tough time. The thing is that this is very important, right? Even if at the beginning I might have been excited because for a lot of people, they will be giving a go to remote because of this. Realistically, you need to be prepared, because otherwise, unfortunately, the experience might not be the best one, and maybe it can even end up backlashing your experience, and you might not want to go then fully remote because of that, right? It's important to switch the way we process and how do we do the decision-making process in our businesses, how we operate or communicate and document things and coordinate things in our company. So it's not about being a bit remote friendly. We really need to switch things to be remote first, so there's no backlash or challenge or restrictions on how we feel it is for us when we work remotely, right? And realistically, it's obvious, right? Remote work has also challenges, right? So today what I want to do is to give you a few tips that have been very useful for me in all these years, and the ones that I have been seen lately, right? That the people are suffering from the most, and how I think that they should be solved and in a very actionable way, right? So for me, it's about setting a functional environment for you to work at home at this point, right? About how you handle productivity management and how do you coordinate and do pretty much what could be project management and team management at the end of the day. So let's start by setting a functional and remote work first environment. And for me, it's critical, and I understand that you may not have enough room or space in your house or apartment, right? But it's critical that you set a specific quiet area, even if it is in your living room, like a corner of your living room. It shouldn't be in the middle of everything, right? A distraction-free place with great internet connection to work comfortably from, that has good lighting, little distractions, little noise, comfortable furniture, because you will spend your whole day there. And then, of course, invest in gadgets. This makes all the difference. And hopefully, managers are very aware of this and can allocate some budget for it, for their own team, right? Investing in headphones, microphones, camera, noise canceling software to, for example, Crisp. It's fantastic. because especially if you have kids around, it will mute any background noise. So whenever you speak with your clients and with your team, they won't necessarily be wanting to be hearing the whole noise in the back. And this software makes it very easily to eliminate that background noise. It's like magic, right? Besides the noise canceling headphones, so you can properly concentrate, right? And of course, you need to make sure that your tool is still accessible independently of your location, but securely, right? Like SEO, project management tool, communication tools. So for example, if at some point you had some desktop-based tool that many people had access to, like, I don't know, maybe Screaming Frog or any desktop-based tool that you might be using, right? It's important to make sure that they are also available on the cloud, that you switch to a cloud-based solution to be able to continue operating as usual. And then this is something that we don't talk enough about, but very important, especially if you give services at an enterprise level, put an emphasis in security, both online and offline. So antivirus, VPN, secure connection, password generation, storage, set automatic frequent data backups, device tracker installation just in case, headphones usage for conference call, especially if you don't live alone or you share your apartment with many other people who might work even for, I don't know, the competition or whatever. Laptop screen privacy filter, this is very important. And then once that you have a functional setup, it is important to avoid distractions that will kill your productivity, like going up like every 15 minutes to the kitchen to grab something to eat, not good for your weight, also not good to keep you focused on work, right? So it's important to establish a clear work versus home life boundaries with a routine, avoiding interruptions and overwork. Of course, start and like you need to set a schedule like the one that you have when you go to the office, right? And you need to know very well and to agree with your family that you might be physically there, but you're actually working. So they shouldn't interrupt you unless it is an emergency, like the type of urgency that for which they will call you at work, right? Disable mobile non-work related notifications. You can use time tracking software like Rescue Time, for example, and app blockers, like if you're not able to control yourself, to block those apps that you know that are not healthy to have open all the time and they will suck your productivity. And then it's about, I would say, I like to use a task prioritization system like the Eisenhower matrix, for example, to identify each day, right? Like which should be the tasks that you should prioritize, those that you should delegate because they are urgent but not important, which are the ones that are important but not critical that you can plan for next week, for the next days, and which are the ones that you should avoid completely because they are not urgent, they are not important, they are not super critical for you and will really influence your day-to-day. And this is the thing, you should avoid bringing those bad habits that you had at the office to the remote environment because they will end up being even worse, right? Because you cannot even interact face-to-face with the person from time to time. So I saw this tweet the other day, someone saying like Zoom is like real life. No shit. In that I've already gone from Zoom FOMO to wildly overscheduling Zooms, canceling to Zooms. Like why you want to request like or to have Zoom calls every time during the whole day, right? You need to, what I would recommend, and this is what I do, right? I set some availability to have calls with other people from my team or clients at the beginning of the day and at the end of the day, so I can leave enough room, thinking time for actual SEO work analysis, research during the day, and I don't need to be disconnecting all the time to switch to calls. So that for me tends to work better, and then this will help you to not allowing other people to actually book calls during those block SEO analysis time that you will have for your own to be able to actually execute your job. This is very important. And then of course you can use time management methods like, for example, the Pomodoro technique. I love it because realistically we're humans. We cannot keep concentrations for more than 20-25 minutes at a time, right? So this method will allow you to allocate 20-25 minutes per task. After those 25 minutes, you will have 5-minute breaks. After 4 Pomodoros of 25 minutes, you will have 25 minutes of a break, half an hour of a break. So like this, you will be able to have a balanced day. You will be able to have proper breaks to stretch a bit, to go and refresh, etc., to disconnect a bit also from screen, which is also important, right? And then this is very important when critical, I would say, to work remotely, communication coordination protocols to keep an effective workflow with the teams and clients. Establish a clear communication guidelines with your team and also with clients to agree with the most common scenarios that you have on day-to-day. When you are going to use a synchronous tool like the project management system or text chat, and when are you going to use synchronous tools like Zoom calls, conference calls, that you need to be on real time interacting when it's actually needed or not, right? So I will say I will recommend to use asynchronous communication for non-urgent and simpler day-to-day type of coordination. It's important that you set the tools, the methods, the channels that are going to be used in each case, when to use chat versus project management system, when do you need to document decisions and who to put in copy, establish moderation also and notification rules and mention rules, because otherwise it can become quite easily annoying, right, and destructive, and set reasonable times to answer. Like it's okay, you need to answer, but it's okay that you don't answer right away, but you need to answer before 24 hours to the client, right, every single time. And then for complex non-urgent matters, I will say to record yourself, do screencasts and share it via the project management system. Like you can use Zoom, Snagit, or Loom to share whatever complex that you wish you were at the client office to be able to show that, but you cannot. And then for some reason, it's not something urgent, just something that you just need to explain, you can record yourself on your screen, right? And make it easy for the team and client to do follow-ups with project management tool, dashboards, alerts also, especially right now where search behavior is changing, traffic behavior is changing. You want to keep alerted and be proactive in order to be proactive and be on the top of things with clients too. And then for synchronous real-time communication, I will recommend to do it when asynchronous won't be as effective. For example, complex topics, urgent matters, sensitive topics, strategic decision-making, education sessions, or team building also when you want bonding with your team and clients. Set clear communication guidelines again, especially for video conference calls, to do them as professional as possible, right? I know it's nice to have a crappy type of video call, but if it is possible to have a nice, fluid, effective communication, is the best. To set the software usage, the timing, the length for a smooth experience, how you will integrate it, how you will make it easier for the client to open the link and be right there, and you should be there to who you should invite. And then, for example, you can do and you should do weekly calls with clients and team to follow up and address expectation, and then ask for feedback if this is a new setting for you and them too, to follow up on the executed and plan you agreed activities too. Is something I think at this point very important, because I think that there's the need to over communicate, because there's the situation when we don't know what to expect sometimes, or things are changing so much. So it's very, very important to ask for feedback, to validate, to verify, to double check that things are going as expected, that if there's an expectation that you do something else, that it is clearly communicated to. And I will say that it's also, as I mentioned before, try to keep a professional image with clients in video calls too. I love the configuration from Zoom that allows you to change your background. So for example, in my case, you can see a super professional background of my Starship with a few of my bots out there. Watch to the camera too, to have eye-to-eye contact, have a good lighting in front of you too, not in the back. So you can see actually the difference with little things, right? And last but not least, realistically, one of the challenges of remote is overwork and isolation, right? Not knowing when to stop, especially in these settings right now, when we cannot go out to have a beer at the end of the day, or to hang out with friends, or go to the movies, or to a restaurant, whatever. And there's also the restriction when sometimes we live by ourselves, or we only live with our partner, but we have a lot of social life, and we are potentially people who tend to be surrounded with others, right? So I would say that if you work with a team, or you have many team members, that you set a time at the end of the day to organize this sort of beer calls with your team members. When you don't talk about work, it's just water cooler type of conversations, just to touch base how everything is going with your lives, right? And set channels also on your own chats to talk about non-professional day-to-day. Also too, I will recommend, if you work by yourself, I have set the BARTOSZ water cooler that you have the link at the below there, and I have just shared the slides also over my Twitter at ALEYDA, so you can go and check the link there right away to go to the water cooler, where it's a chat with 800 or so other SEOs and marketers where we can hang out and chat about whatever. And then this Corona pop chats that happen at the end of each day, where we just hang out and have beer. You have the screenshot here. It's very laid back. So again, it's important to take actions to improve your team and your own physical and mental health. This is important. I will say that you can create channels about fitness, meditation, entertainment, free online courses, provide a little bit of budget to facilitate exercise and learning from home, to organize group workout sessions for those who want. So there's a lot of creativity that you can put into place to make it easier and much more enjoyable to keep connected with your team in a not necessarily a purely professional way, but in a way that you know that you are helping other humans to go through the isolation that the lockdown unfortunately also means, right? And of course, avoid overworking and potential burnout. But this is very real. Make sure to follow a healthy schedule, set alerts, make sure that everybody sets alerts at the end of the day to properly disconnect, take your Pomodoro breaks, as I mentioned, those 20-25 minutes to actually refresh, stretch, exercise, to disconnect from work. This is critical, because otherwise you can end up burning out quite easily, right? And I hope that with all of these tips, you should be able to be a little bit better prepared to work remotely from home at this point, and in the future, potentially, as you can see, by tackling all of these issues that we went through and potentially solve with all of these tips, your experience will be as good and as beneficial that you will end up deciding to switch to do a more permanent remote switch. In fact, I have been seeing these conversations, as you can see on screen, people saying that they are actually switching because they have realized that there's no point in having a big office in central London when they can do what they are doing already from their house. And what they are going to do is to have just a share office to go once per week or every once and then, or to do some meetings or meetups when it makes sense, right? And I actually did this poll the other day just to double verify, and 32% of the people who answer say yes, I am loving remote right now. So the lockdown work from home experience has made them already decide to switch to a remote work setting. So hopefully this will be a new thing. And if you want to learn more, there's certainly much more out there. I actually published this checklist and remoters that you can definitely check out, and with a lot of links also to many more resources. And hopefully this will be useful. And if you have any other questions, you can ask me now during the viewers too. Thank you very much.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Aleyda. That was like the perfect talk to finish our event today. Very inspiring and keeping us motivated. I love it. Yeah.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely. And actually, a lot of people seconded that your water cooler is really cool, that they really like this, what you've set up there.
Yeah.
Maybe one question real quick from Christopher. How do you find companies to work with that are remote first instead of just remote friendly?
So this is the thing. I have found that, well, the remote first companies are the companies that startups usually that started like that from scratch. So for example, Buffer, Zapier, Todoist, these startups usually they started like that, remote, usually because they didn't have that much money for offices at the beginning. Then they ended up realizing that was an advantage because they were able to hire people from all over, right? So these are the real, I would say, remote first companies. But this is interesting, right? I had the chance to interview Matthew Barbie from HubSpot. We know that HubSpot is huge, right? Has thousands of people all over the world. And he was sharing his experience because actually his growth team switched to be remote last year. And he actually went through the process and started to test out, starting with a few days working from home or from whatever they wanted to be. So he started by giving his team a little bit of the test, the trial, right, of working remote little by little. Then a few people told him, look, sorry, but remote is or working from home or not at the office is not for me. So he started to set like proper protocols and options and to give options to the team to do it so in the way that was more reasonable for them. So I think that when you haven't started completely remote at the beginning, the best is to switch little by little. And it's not about forcing people to work from a specific place. It's allowing people to be flexible enough for them to work whatever they want on one hand. And then the real, a little bit effort will come when you set your rules, your guidelines, your protocols, your coordination to make it work independently of the location. Even if you are on the office or at the beach or whatever, right? It should work as well, right? So, and that is when the challenge comes. But there are certainly companies like HubSpot, for example, that have started doing that and moving little by little per area, having a leader who does this. And I will recommend that you read the interview section. We have a few journeys like this of bigger companies moving to a remote work setting. And I think it's very interesting indeed.
Yeah, great.
Amazing.
Speaking for us, I can't wait to get back to the office with everybody. I mean, I think it's fantastic that remote work is working, that we have our 80 people working still relentlessly, even in the home office. It's awesome. Also the team spirit that Mike also, this is just, it's phenomenal. It's really phenomenal. But still, I'm really looking forward to have everybody back in the office and just throw a big fucking party.
Yes, the party is the best part.
Yeah. Probably not the best part to do this right now, so we still got to wait a little bit. But yeah, thank you so much for your insights, and definitely. So a couple of people are already leaving. We still have about 1,000 people left in here. So before everybody is leaving, although obviously I hope a lot of people are joining us in the pub as well. There's magic tricks from Martin coming up. But I know somebody has a special announcement.
I do, yes. Of course, yeah, please stick around for some Q&A with our beloved speakers and with myself and Marcus and some friendly banter and magic. But we do have a nice announcement to make today. So, where's my video? We are announcing a brand new weekly show, myself and Marcus, because we're two of a kind. You know, we're nerds. We love SEO. We're passionate about what we do. So we want to share this with you all on a weekly basis. So you're the first to hear about 3 or 2 of a kind. We want to redirect you every week from work or from the office to the weekend. So it's going to be every Friday.
Temporary redirect, because we all got to go back to the office. So it's a 302. And that was fitting, us being 2 of a kind, and so we're 3 or 2 of a kind. I don't know if you've seen this already. I mean, me and Izzy, we were doing a show. Izzy and I, we were doing a show, like the Google Hangout, actually, to just still connect with some friends, to still have social interaction with all our SEO friends from around the world. And we had 3 like hangouts like this, and it worked like really incredibly well, with Marcus Tober coming in, sharing some data from search metrics and everything. So we actually thought it just likes a little bit of structure, and we can actually do a show out of it. So while we're still in the Corona crisis, why not do it? So and so we came up with being 2 of a kind. Let's do 3 or 2 of a kind, redirecting you from the office to the weekend. So every Friday at 4 p.m. we're live. It would be great some of you guys join us as well. We're live tomorrow. We're probably going to do a little bit sorting out the aftermath of this conference. There's a lot to talk about, so it would be great if you're here. And now it's finally time so that I can open I have this nice Google fridge and get a beer, because it's time for the pub.
Yes. So, and yeah, thank you so much to all the attendees. Thank you to the speakers. But of course, we're not over just yet. Can the speakers show themselves again? Are they there?
Everybody come into the pub.
There we go. We have ALEYDA.
To go for my beer now.
Martin. Yes.
Hold on. Here we go. All right.
Nice.
I forgot to grab myself a beer. Hold on. I'll be right back.
Let me grab something. I'll be right back.
I was DMing that to you, but dibs on being your first guest on the podcast. I call dibs.
Oh, you call dibs. Yeah. Amazing.
I call dibs. This is like a saint rule. You cannot not invite me now. But congrats. That's very nice of you to have a podcast together.
I love the name 302.
Yeah, 3 of a kind. I really love it.
Redirecting you to the weekend, only temporarily. Yeah.
Sure.
Nice. One
Cheers, guys.
Oh, it's true. I was actually going to tease Kevin saying that he has already the whole day in front, but you're in Germany, isn't it? Still.
I am in Germany. I got stranded here. I spoke at a conference here 5 weeks ago, and 2 days later, my flight back was canceled. And since my family lives here in Germany, I was like, why don't I stay for a bit? And now I'm not sure when I'm going to go back to the US. I guess I'm going to stay here for a couple of weeks longer.
It's pretty sad,
Amazing.
but I'm glad that you're safe, Kevin.
Well, that's
most important.
I'm glad too.
Oh, and Cindy is with us, but she's her internet is not allowing her to be with us.
So bad. But anyway, it's so professional for offering here's a video. So it's like Cindy. That's why I'm a fan.
Amazing.
We still have about like 700 people in here. So I hope you all grab a beer wherever you are, what time zone, whatever. You can also drink coffee, obviously, or water. Whatever.
No judging.
We're all gonna have a beer. So prost everyone. Prost to a great conference. Thank you all for making this happen. This is really awesome.
Thank you for the chance.
For having us.
Thanks for having us and going through the motions of making this happen.
ALEYDA, I have a question because you probably are the one with the most experience. I don't remember any virtual event with like 12 or more 100 people like ever in the history of SEO. I never saw an online event with actually this many people live, not like signed up or whatever, like live.
I think that the ones that usually tend to have a lot of people online are the ones of SEMrush. They are like very long, about like, but I don't know if, well, it's around 1,000 or so, but I don't know if that's this many. You will need to ask some fun, but I think they are the only ones who reach this type of numbers though. So very well done.
Like at the same time, like one session, you know what I mean?
Yes, yes, indeed.
So just wanted to say, I have no idea how this happened. Sorry, Cindy was like.
Oh, I was saying really high numbers, the highest I've seen.
Exactly.
It's astonishing. I'm in awe. I love it.
So thanks everyone for coming. Like our servers almost got DDoS, so our tool is still in a kind of shaky stage of us saving on servers, and I hope it's still there.
No, because of
yeah, because of the hashtag.
So
but
we had 2 websites down.
We had almost 200 people at one, like at the same time within that toolset. So it was designed for 2. So I hope it's still online.
That's great.
So that's really interesting. So I was shocked to see.
So Bartosz, I have a question for you. I actually have to say, Marcus, it was you who you actually cut your hair yourself, isn't it?
I'm not doing that. No. I'm gonna be a Sasquatch. No, Sasquatch.
Bartosz, you're. I am not going to talk about your hair, but the bird.
My face would be so small if I do that. Now Marcus did his.
I see that Martin also. You did a makeover there, so you. Please, Bartosz, you're next.
Imagine my beard and Martin's, long hair. That would be.
But to be fair, I shaved for practical reasons because I got really upset with the beard getting caught in the diving mask and then water leaking in. That was just annoying. So I'm just like, nah, fuck it.
And the COVID mask, of course.
The COVID mask.
Oh yeah, sure.
So with us, I actually had an appointment for SMX Munich, which didn't happen. So I was already looking like pretty raggedy. And then my son Julius came up, we could just shave it off. And then I'm like, yeah, just shave it off. That's cool. When we get out again, it will be grown back. Becky was a little bit not so happy, but now she's happy. It was shaving it actually in the show, in the 302 of a kind. So to speak.
Yeah, I was there for 30 minutes and then I left. And then I saw next day on Facebook that you shaved your hair and left for the best part.
That took quite a while.
I'm gonna be a real man and I'm going for the Sasquatch. I'm gonna be probably shaved, in X months from now because I'm not going to a barber right now if there's like no cure or whatever. So brace yourself.
I am going to look like Rapunzel at the end of all of this because
Oh,
my hair
yeah.
should have
Oh,
gone.
I love it.
You know, I was already thinking on going, okay, to the hairdresser like at the end of February, and oh my God, I should have gone. Never again. This is happening to me every time that I feel my hair a little bit long. In the future, I will definitely go because yeah.
So you're gonna be Rapunzel. So I'm going with Robinson Crusoe, like the last scene of the movie before going on the ship.
Castaway style. Get a Wilson ball. Wilson. Do it.
I'm pretty sure that Kevin is gonna look exactly the same in 3 months.
So by the way, we're getting
No,
a lot of
have you
people from all over the world. So there's people from Duluth, Minnesota. This is where Enkley is at. Yeah, so many people saying cheers, cheers guys, cheers guys. It was all awesome. I can even read
Thank you
through
so
all.
much.
Insane. It's just
Thank you
so
so much.
many
It was
My heart.
yeah, so we really got to see how we can figure out all the questions to the speakers. Actually, maybe we just send it out or whatever. But we're definitely gonna like send out a recording as well, because this was really better than we would have ever thought. And really, like we planned this 10 days ago. This is just unreal. So and a lot of people are also asking where are the magic tricks. So, but before you start with the magic tricks, I need to get my kids because my kids are very excited about this. So can I get them real quick?
Right. Yeah.
go?
This is the thing that I was most stressed about.
Are we all running away now?
Martin, where did you learn? Since you were a kid too, or?
No, not really. I was always excited about seeing magic, but I never really got into like trying it out until I had a really, really long flight. And I think the flight that I took was something along the lines of Toronto, Montreal, Zurich, Singapore, Melbourne. And that flight took forever. Actually, the series of flights took forever. So I decided to like learn magic on the go because I had a deck of cards. And that's actually the first trick I usually show. And this is super scary because the camera may break all the magic, but I'll try. Okay, I'll try.
Go.
Okay.
I wonder how we can make your screen bigger.
So
I don't
actually,
know.
is having dinner right now. So, but you can eat the dinner.
I will hide my webcam.
Let me know when I should start. I don't know. I'm ready whenever you are ready.
Is everyone ready? I'm ready.
You're ready.
Ready.
Okay, everyone's ready. Fantastic. So I have 3 cards. I have a joker. See, that's the problem with the camera. It's really hard to see, but this is a joker. So we have a joker here. We have a second joker here. Joker. And we have an ace. I screwed it up. Oh no! I screwed it up.
That's a great trick.
Well, actually, so again, let me make sure that I clearly show this. This is a joker. This is a second joker, and then we have the ace. And I want you actually to follow the ace. And that's a relatively easy game, right? I put the ace on the top. It's on the top. Here's the ace. You just follow the ace. That's it. But what happens if I put the ace on the bottom? Well, then you would think it's on the bottom, but actually there's a joker on the bottom. So is it still on the top? Let's have a look at the top card. It's not the top card. There's a joker on the top. That's weird. So it's not on the bottom. It's not on the top. It must be in the middle. But in the middle, there's a joker. So that's really, really weird, isn't it? That's not normal, huh? Is that normal? No, I don't think it's normal. No. I don't think that's normal. So let's try this again. So we have 3 cards, okay? We have the ace. That's the one that we know. And then these are 2 jokers, right? So yes, there's a joker. But what is this card? Do you know what this card is? Any guesses?
Joker.
Well, it should be a joker, right? But because I flipped the card, it actually has changed. Have a look.
No way.
Right? So that's the kind of thing that you can do when you have too much time. But you can do other things as well. So for instance, I have a few requisites here. And this one I haven't done as much because I'm actually not, getting the opportunity to perform where I can have props. So I take an additional prop. I take my magic wand because this one, I'm not that good at this trick, so I need a magic wand to help me a little bit. Okay, cool. So in these 3 cups, I have 3 little cotton balls. So here we have the 3 cotton balls here, and I can put the cups next to them. And now you can see, like, you know, they're empty, and I can put things on them, and I can't really put my finger through. And if you were here, I would let you check, but we are all at home, so I can't really let you check. But nonetheless, I'll put this on the top. I'll put the 2 on the top. I'll use my magic wand and do abracadabra, pop, and then somehow it has moved through the thing, right? That's a really weird one. Okay, let's try that again. Let's try that again. Just because why wouldn't we? Oops. There goes that one. That was not the magic. Let's actually try this again. So we have this one from before. That one was here. Okay, let's do that again. We put the things on the top. And actually, I just wanted to, this time this is the yellow one, right? This is a different one. And we try this again, abracadabra, pop, and somehow it moves through to the other ball. It's weird, isn't it? But you know, this is not all that is weird about this, because actually you can do this better. So I've done this twice. This is boring, and we've seen that it goes through here and here. But what happens if I put something in the middle? So now we have 2 of them, right? And I still hope my magic is strong enough to actually get this through. Yeah, it even goes through 2 of them. So yeah, that's a weird one.
That's amazing.
And you can actually, like, the little cotton balls are quite nice. You can do all sorts of things with them, and I'll actually move the camera up a little bit so that you can see me. No, you still can't really. Hello, you can't really see me still. But like the magic stick is actually like the one that you have here is not just like a random one. It can do also like vanish things. So I have this one here. So now and it's gone. Just like that. It's just
what?
Okay.
So yeah, that's the kind of stuff that you can do with these things.
That's how Googlebot renders web pages.
That's roughly how Googlebot renders web pages.
Thank you so much, Martin. That was great.
You're welcome.
I love it. I love how everyone brought their kids.
Everyone brought their kid. I might have one more. In fact, I feel lucky tonight. I'll do one more.
Oh.
This one is actually one that I'm still practicing. So like the magic is not quite strong enough yet, but
come on.
More kids need to be summoned again. Yeah. I have extra large cards. That's like a weird thing to have, but that's what I have here. And I have 4 of them. I have 4 red Caro 5 cards. But if I turn them around and do like this, then actually also the last card has changed. And not just the last card and the first card have changed, actually all of them have changed. But you know, this is a really weird time. So nothing is as it seems, because actually the front of these cards are now also different.
What?
There we go.
Okay.
What have you done, Martin?
You're welcome.
I'm actually impressed that you were able to learn this on a plane. This is what
the thing is, like, there's a bunch of tricks that I learned on the plane, and sometimes people were probably thinking I was an idiot, because there are a bunch of tricks where you need to do like specific moves, and there's one that is really scary. That scared the shit out of me, because you have to throw the cards between your hands. And you can imagine practicing that properly actually goes wrong quite often. So I was sitting there like, boom, fuck, like awkwardly rummaging around in the aisle of the plane, and people were like, what is this guy doing? What is wrong with him? And there was actually one person sitting next to me when I was practicing. So this card trick I actually practiced on the plane a few months ago, and there was a lady sitting next to me, and she's like, excuse me, what exactly is it that you're doing? And I'm like, oh, interesting that you ask. Do you like magic? And she's like, no, I do not like magic. I'm like, oh, okay, let me show you anyway. And I ad hoc developed this alternative stage persona of a magician who's annoyed to be a magician. And that was just hilarious. It's like, you know, I understand that you don't like magic, because I really, really, really dislike magic as well, because they're all like, oh, look at this, and I have a magic wand and whatnot. And I'm pretty sure they're just cheating us. And I try to understand what they're doing, and it's really, really hard to understand, because I have these cards here, and then I basically went through the routine just with a different way of telling the story, which is a fantastic tool to actually learn storytelling, because I was like, look at this, these cards are incredible. You're actually just basically like, whoops. You're having these cards, and there's 4 of them, and they're normal cards. There's nothing fancy about them. It's just 4 cards. But then when you turn one around and you flip it, then somehow, and I have no idea how this works, but the last one has changed, and I don't get this. This freaks me out, because that's not all. Just watch this. Like, even though I don't want it, all of them have changed. And you know that's not the worst thing about these cards, because these cards are not even like, you know, faithful and actually truthful. You turn them around and then they have changed again, and I'm like, what the hell is, why, why does that happen? And I don't get it. I really, really don't understand it. Can you help me understand that? And she was just like laughing her ass off at that point. So yeah, so so that's the nice thing about magic. It helps you connect with people slightly more easily sometimes. And yeah, so that's how I did that.
I'm pretty sure our audience who is watching now, like, they will have known you for your amazing talks on JavaScript SEO and your resources, but now they know you a little bit better, like, which is amazing. Yeah.
So we have a lot of applause from the chat, so to speak. My kids are riveted, is Leah saying. Leah from Minnesota. Hey, Leah. Yeah. My kids are riveted. It's not normal. Applause. A lot of.
How did you do that?
But I actually prepared a magic trick as well. So let me try this real quick.
Show us.
That worked.
Amazing. That is amazing. That worked really well. Yes.
I think I heard myself.
But now that we have so many kids here, let me see if I can pull out one more trick. But that one reads props as well.
Oh, more magic. We also have some questions coming in. Even is our lovely Cindy still around? We have a question for you that just came in.
Yeah, I'm here.
Perfect. So we have Kareem who's asking, is there any way to get a sense of what the default language is, brackets, of a certain area or market? For example, in Netherlands, what other languages are dominant other than Dutch, that kind of thing?
I guess I would probably start with Wikipedia, but from a search perspective, no, I don't know. It's something that any of the big tools like SEMrush might be able to put a report out on, but I don't know that they have done that. Aleyda might know.
Yeah, I will say that the best way to know what is the search potential in the language will be that you go to the top players in the industry and you see which are the top queries are bringing them traffic at the end of the day, and then you can go and generate with a keyword magic tool and see the search permutation and the search volume for each.
Yeah, but I want to point out that there's a difference between search volume and search volume that brings you traffic. You might not be ranking, and so you wouldn't get the traffic. Those two are separate metrics.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, I say that take that as a reference first, and then identify the potential with the search volume of the keyword tool.
Good question.
Thank you, ladies. Great answer. So, Martin, do you have magic?
Right.
We need it.
Last magic. That was one that brings me back to my childhood as a German child in kindergarten. And I grew up in Germany, and Marcus can probably second that. We learn how to follow rules as kids, even already in kindergarten. And I was following the rules, but I was also very, very lazy. Already as a kid, I was a very, very lazy kid. And so I learned how to follow the rules quite exactly. Not always to the pleasure of the people who were authorities, and like my kindergarten teacher, for instance. So my kindergarten teacher gave us and that was lovely. Gave us like an empty book that we needed to color in. So you see, like, there's nothing in this book. It's all blank pages, right? Cool. But I was lazy and I didn't really want to like color things in or actually draw anything. And she said, you all have to make a drawing. So I used magic, right? I had my magic wand with me and I just like went like this. And from this, it turned into, whoops. Well, it turned into something that I didn't anticipate. See, the magic sometimes doesn't do what I want it to do. So then actually I went through again and there we are. There are like lots of drawings. And my kindergarten teacher was like, oh, but I haven't seen you actually draw anything. And I'm like, I didn't draw anything. She said, but I said, you have to make a picture. I'm like, I did. It's like, I made many of them. Is that a problem? And she's like, actually, I want you to also color them in, you know? And I'm like, oh, color them in. That's not a problem. So I took my magic wand and I did some magic again. And then they were colored in. No need to say that she did not like that. But yeah, since that day, I'm actually following my orders quite carefully. She did not like that.
I see. You know, Martin. I see a career change here. If this JavaScript development thing, ever dies, you now have a complete new path to success here.
If our parents are right and this internet thing is never taking off, then
yeah.
we'll be safe.
That brings me to
Martin, is that how you change your hair color too?
I can't really do that. Unfortunately, my hair is quite magic resistant, unfortunately.
Okay.
I would love to, but I can't.
We have a question from Dave Elliott here in the chat. Is magic a ranking factor? So
I cannot comment on that.